they had the opportunity to do that with someone like January, and they had the restraint to not have January give you hints all the time throughout the game like that. You know what I
That'd be
mean?
sick. If this game was Japanese made, for
Yeah.
sure January would be Chudley, without a doubt.
Oh, Morgan-sama. Hello, friends, and welcome back to the Adventure Starts Here podcast. This week, we discuss Prey, a survival horror FPS by Arkane Studios and spiritual successor to System Shock. As always, be wary of spoilers, as this is an open spoiler discussion. If you're worried about being spoiled, go play it, and come back afterwards to share your thoughts in the comments. And as always, enjoy the episode. Alright, so for this week, we played Prey by Arkane Studios. That's not a tongue twister, that's just a game we played after our intermezzo week. I chose this game. Because I played it back in 2018, maybe like a year after it came out, because I think it was getting a lot of rave reviews at the time. And for whatever reason, we were talking about like older episodes. I think it might have been the year in review, and I mentioned how I had never actually picked Prey, like I was talking about all the way back in the System Shock episode, which is what, like our third or fourth episode. And we'd also mentioned we want to do more like FPS story driven stuff. And I don't know if I would exactly call this game like straight up story driven, but like it's in there. And yeah, I just wanted to kind of revisit this game as I often want to do under a critical lens. I don't know if I would call this an opening bit. It can definitely be a bit, but I just wanted to start because obviously all of us kind of poke and prod at the idea of an immersive sim, like every fucking game is an immersive sim. And I wanted to ask you guys to give your definition for what an immersive sim is. Not necessarily what everyone thinks it is, but if you're calling something an immersive sim, what is it?
You know what? Ben can start. He's thought about this more than anyone in this
Yeah,
channel.
but the problem is it's kind of like horseshoe theory, where I've gotten to the point where I just hate the term and I think it should be retired. Because like if you take it to like the platonic ideal of whatever, when Warren Spector uttered those holy words way back when, and all the people that still care about this term have white hair, like the term only describes like 5 games in existence and will only ever describe those 5 games, because those, like, the way that those games work, like with their physics based mechanics and systems like System Shock and Deus Ex, like you're never going to see games like those again, because quite frankly the people of 2026 just don't enjoy those games. So like it's just like this anachronism that will just be stuck there forever, and that's why I just don't like the term, because it's so limiting.
I mean, so what is the definition that would hit only those games then? Because I'm not familiar what like the purest definition is.
Basically, I don't even know, because like, I mean, I guess when Warren Spector said it, it was about System Shock. Sorry, well, how am I getting
System Shock.
tongue twisted on System Shock? System Shock. Like we played the remake, and it's a pretty faithful remake. So, like, just judging off of that, it's kind of like Metroidvania exploration, although not necessarily, because in Deus Ex it's hub based. Um, you can There are systems that you can stress, and the game will still work. Like you can kill NPCs, but the game can still be beaten, which is not even something I'd ascribe to immersive sims, because I remember watching a Tim Kaine video about his philosophy on creating quests for CRPGs, and he talks about the same thing, where you should build the game so that you can kill every NPC, and if it's a quest critical one, they like drop a note that lets you like continue that quest, stuff like that, just like having backup systems to like prevent like hard locks. So like it's just, I don't know, I think just too many people that are old as fuck put too much stock in those 2 words that were uttered by one dude, that I think is just stupid.
Yeah, coming into this, I decided I was going to give a tongue-in-cheek answer, but it's kind of funny how it relates to that, because I think either one of two things needs to happen with the term immersive sim. Either, number one, we need to retire it, like you were talking about, and no game gets to be called it anymore because it doesn't make sense. Or, number two, we just need to accept the term as meaning any game with choice. And that's it.
I mean, I would propose a narrowing. I'm somewhere between Seth and Ben here, where I think that you could define an immersive sim as a game that has reactive systems and like a large array of like possible ways to solve problems in more open-ended ways. So like rather than something being entirely scripted, they treat player choice as like an experiment that lets you bypass obstacles, whether that's through stealth, combat, environmental manipulation. Like there's multiple ways to skin a cat, and the game is built on some degree of reactivity
So
to
is
that. Now, does that describe like also every CRPG ever made? Yes, but I don't know. It's like an immersive sim is almost more like a vibe
to
thing,
me, it's
right?
just it's literally just a marketing term that Warren Spector made up. It's a good soundbite, and people with white hair are just taking it too far, and we just have to wait for them to die out.
I mean, so to me, I think that there's just like two defining qualities for what makes an immersive sim. It's like being able to loot a bunch of shit in the game. So basically, basically like garbage picking style games. So like Tarkov or things like that have that quality to them, but also that needs to be paired with being able to kill any NPC. And so the term immersive sim to me is kind of like what friend slap has become, where the longer that these terms exist, the more that people forget what they mean, and then they just start to mean like everything. Like they just get diluted and diluted. Because friend slap now just means a game that you play with your friends. But I think it started as like 4-player roguelike progress restarts when you die kind of games, and now it's just you play a game with your friend, it's friend slap. And I think that's the same thing that happened to immersive sim.
Well, according to like the definition you just proposed, as well as what Thomas described, would Baldur's Gate 3 be an immersive
Yep,
sim? Because I
I
think
think
it
it
fits
is.
all those. But I think that if you posted that in the immersive games subreddit, you're gonna get flogged.
Oh, that's fine.
Well, here's my difference between those things. What I was going to respond to Thomas earlier with the CRPG thing. I think the critical difference between a CRPG and a quote unquote immersive sim, if we're not going to retire that term, I would prefer to retire it, is that the immersive sim is typically FPS because it's immersive. It's putting you like closer to the action. You like feel like you're wearing a VR helmet, which by the way, this game would be sick in a VR helmet if you don't throw up. So my answer to Baldur's Gate 3 is if you're playing PC and your camera is top down, it's a CRPG. If you're playing on a controller and it's third party, it's an immersive sim.
So the creator of Prey made a game called Weird West that I think that people will accept as an immersive sim. That's a top-down game with twin stick shooter. But like, I don't know, because it's just so weird to me that that's such a specific distinction. Because if you took a game like Deus Ex or System Shock and you just remade it as third person, like how does it not? How does
I
it
agree.
like not become
Oh
an
yeah,
immersive sim anymore?
Yep.
it's horrible. Yeah, I
Well,
agree.
and this is what I meant by like it's almost just a vibes thing where rather than trying to define an actual genre or subgenre, it really should just be a term that applies to like 5 games that a bunch of Gen Xers made in the fucking 90s. Because, like, really, when you say immersive sim, that's going to be the 5 games that like 95% of people are going to think about when it immediately springs to their
Yeah,
mind,
and
you
I
know?
guess I should be clear because I think I implied earlier that System Shock was like the first one, and I maybe that was one where the term was coined, but I think that Warren Spector himself would probably talk about the origin of the immersive sim as Ultima Underworld, which is a game that none of us have played, I'm sure.
Is that a first person game?
Yeah, it's a very, very old game.
Is it a dungeon crawler?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I don't even know that one to be honest. I've never
Yeah,
played
and
it
I
at
don't think
least.
perspective should necessarily be tied to genre outside of like if it's in the name, then yes. But like, because when you say Metroidvania, like thinking about Metroidvania and side view, I think kind of limits the idea of what a genre is. Because I mean, like Dark Souls and shit are also Metroidvania, so I don't necessarily tie first person to immersive sim. I think if you want to say Deus Ex like, I think that's what most people mean when you guys are saying like the purest shit. That's Deus Ex like games, but I think the best usage of immersive sim will be you can loot a lot of shit and you can kill everybody and still play the game because then I think you kind of understand what the game's going to be if you see that tag.
I think my real like non tongue in cheek answer is one that's very not sexy. which is that I think there's very few, if like almost zero games where you can say that it is this game genre. Like even something like La Mulana, for example, it is a Metroidvania. I don't really feel comfortable saying that because like every single game is going to have like a million different like genres that it falls into, and I just feel like limiting to calling something of just one genre is it's almost like pigeonholing you into ascribing things to that game that aren't going to be accurate. It's just like filling this scaffold in your mind that shouldn't really be there. In other words, like games need multiple descriptors
Yeah,
for
yeah,
those
yeah.
descriptors to be accurate.
Yeah, like game development has been going on for so many decades that like there's just been a lot of like experimentation and cross pollination where it just makes me even feel stronger about retiring the term because it's just more and more useless as more and more games are made and they all like borrow mechanics from each other.
How would you describe Deus Ex if you couldn't say immersive sim?
First person RPG.
Yeah, those are the exact words that came to my mind. Literally that same sequence of words. So
I
yeah,
think
I
that's too
agree.
many words, though, right? That's the whole point of doing things like this. That's the whole point of consolidating genres from like those big like shooter RPG down to like Metroidvania and shit like that, right?
Yeah, I mean that's going to be the easy way where it's like, oh, I have this friend who just loves Metroidvania, so I'm going to go tell him to play this Metroidvania, and like that can hook someone in. But then there's like an inevitable disappointment where it doesn't necessarily like fall into the categories of what they were assuming it was going to be. But that's an interesting thought experiment as we start talking about Prey. How would you guys describe Prey if you can't call it an immersive sim?
Survival horror.
A survival
True.
horror FPS RPG.
Don't even get into the non-acronym
Oh,
versions of all of
and
that.
to
We're
be
going to be talking into
and
next week.
And as far as like the platonic ideal of immersive sim goes, I think this does like reach that pantheon of like those 5 games. This one specifically.
Yeah, I agree.
I
I
think if this
agree.
game does, I think Skyrim does. I don't see the difference.
That's crazy. That's absolutely crazy. You don't walk around like a sci-fi world because I think when I say vibes based, one of the vibes is it has to be a sci-fi game because like think of those 5 games in the
Well,
pantheon. They're literally all sci-fi
yeah, but then
games.
there's also Dark oh my god, so Dark Messiah of Might and Magic, which is an arcane game.
That's not in the pantheon. No one
I
thinks of
think
that
people
shit.
will call that an immersive sim.
I don't
Also,
care what
there's also
people
Arts
say.
Fatalis, which is like I'm not sure what that is, but it looks fantasy to me. I never played it though.
There's gonna be like 8 million other games that you can say, well, there's this exception, but like if you ask some random gamer, hey, what's your favorite immersive sim? It's gonna be one of 5 things, and one of all of those things are gonna be
Well, there's
sci-fi.
also Ultima Underworld, which is fantasy.
I was gonna say that sounds like fantasy. I see. That's where I think it's kind of. I don't like putting sci-fi under immersive sim because I think that's like it should have its own term if you want to split them through fantasy and sci-fi. But I think you just say fantasy immersive sim or sci-fi immersive sim.
I mean, I don't know, I guess, but I still think even outside of that, like Skyrim is has a totally different play pattern from a game like this, where like I think of like when I think of an immersive sim and I think of something like Deus Ex Human Revolution, I think of a game that has a certain degree of choice, but there's like realistically 3 different choices most of the time. Whereas a game like Skyrim, there's like practically fucking infinity choices with just how like open and free everything is. And I'm not necessarily saying one or the other is better here. I just think that that's like a key difference is just the degree of railroading that's also in the game because I think immersive sims are generally a lot more railroaded than a game like Skyrim or fucking Grand Theft Auto or whatever else we'd want to try and define as an
Yeah, I
immersive
feel like
sim.
I don't know. This is a terrible analogy, but I think it's true of most immersive sims where it's kind of like you're on a track inside, and then you go to like a fork in the road, and you can go in 3 different directions, and it branches from there. That's an immersive sim, but like something that's more of like an open world RPG like Skyrim, yeah, it has immersive sim qualities, but it's no longer in that like hallway. It's expanded out. The hallway no longer exists. You can still go down the 3 paths, but you can also go off the paths in any direction you want to go.
Yeah, so in that like distinction that you guys are defining? Is that more like the open worlds more or less have like points of interest as opposed to like routes?
Yeah, I would say so. I think that would be like the key sort of dividing line between something like a CRPG and something like an immersive sim is that typically, anyway, in most CRPGs, once you get out of Candlekeep or Fort Joy or whatever, like the world is opened up to you and you can go in a million different directions at once. Whereas in a game like Prey or System Shock or Deus Ex, your options are a lot more limited. Now, that's not to say that they're entirely limited and that there's no opportunities for like sequence breaking. I wouldn't even say that the games are linear. They're just more
So is
linear.
Dark Souls 1 an immersive sim?
I think that game's really open too, though. Like you can do once you get out of the asylum, you can fucking go anywhere in that game, really. Well, okay, I'm not gonna get into the nitty gritty, but yeah, you can go in a lot of different directions.
I would say
in that
Dark
game.
Souls isn't just because you can't loot random bullshit in the game, and I think that that's important.
Wait,
There's a lot of random bullshit.
You
to
can't
loot
like
in
pick
those
up
games, I
flowers
think,
and like
actually.
bananas and like beer steins.
Yeah, but you can pick up like purple
Nah.
moss.
yeah, well, I guess
That's
the
not
main
what I put in.
yeah when I brought up Dark Souls, I was thinking more of like the Metroidvania style like interconnectivity, as well as the fact that you can just kill every NPC, even though there's like 7 of them, you can still kill them
Yeah,
and then beat the game.
it definitely has that side of it, but I would say that's more like choices matter than immersive sim.
I hate the fucking term immersive sim.
Yeah, it's honestly it's ass. It's ass, and I feel like I'm defending something I don't even
Yeah, I mean,
like.
let's retire the immersive sim discussion, or at least for the current discussion, so we can actually talk about Prey. But yeah, I mean, obviously, I think we all agree that immersive sims involve choice in one way or another. And I was interested in starting with the question Jordan had in here regarding that, which is that Prey, obviously, it's not trying to make combat your like primary approach to situations. Like you said in the parentheses, there's even the little like tutorial thing for saying like, "Hey, sometimes you should just run away." And hey, guess what I did the entire back half of this game? I was just
Yeah.
sprinting from point A to point B, and I did not give a fuck. And you know what? I was kind of okay with that. Sometimes when I get exhausted by the combat, I like that I can kind of just run from point A to point B and not have to worry. So I don't know. I kind of felt like I was in a good spot with it. I don't know if I would call that particular element well designed, but for my personal enjoyment, it worked.
Yeah, I agree that like I did personally enjoy that. I even like invested all my skill points into like being able to sprint silently, but in terms of being immersed, and I don't know if that's actually an important component of being an immersive sim, I was not. I was definitely taken out of it where I was just able to sprint through everything, and because I put skill points in there, my feet don't make noise and no one gets alerted. Just felt
I didn't
kind of
even think of
weird.
doing that.
It was the first thing I thought of because like this might be related to another question that you put in here, Jordan, but like how you we're talking about like the glue canister as a combat mechanic and an exploration mechanic. I just the way that I thought of every single resource in this game, which includes ammo, like everything is a mega elixir to me because like I just don't know how scarce or when I'll even see any resource pop back up again. So this was the same thing I did with System Shock Remake, where like I 99% of the time I had the wrench out, and I don't know if is a good design.
That sounds
I know,
horrific.
yeah, it's
That sounds
definitely like a
horrific.
self-inflicted horror, but like,
Yeah, because like the way that I played this game and the way that I played like System Shock was I found the thing that was good or at least good enough, and everything else got scrapped and just dumped into the other things. So like in this game, it was the shotgun. Like I saved my glue gun because the glue gun is how you absolutely break the shit out of this game by being able to vertically traverse literally anything as high as you want to go. But outside of the glue gun, if I found the little Tesla coil shits, if I found the pistol ammo, if I found literally anything that was not related to shotgun ammo, it got
Yeah.
turned into shotgun ammo. And I just ran around fucking gatting literally every enemy because when that thing's fully upgraded, everything just dies
Yep.
in
yeah, I
like
guess
2
I
hits.
just felt so different about the game, and I also solved my problems differently. Where the glue canister, like I know from that like tutorial that they had. It's not really a tutorial, but you see like one of the living humans use it to like escape, and he makes like a staircase out of it. I just never wanted to use my limited ammo for that because like what if you miss and like
Bruh.
they touch each other, and sometimes like the glue doesn't spawn, you just waste the ammo. And on top of that, it's so good in combat where it works on literally every enemy that like I just kind of reserved it for that. And the way that I solved my scarcity self-inflicted horror issues, that I just invested some points into like the mimic powers that just let you just nuke everything.
I mean, here's the thing though, right? Is that you were so focused on the resource scarcity. I multiple times recycled every glue ammo that I found, and I still ended the game with 700, like
Oh
700
my
ammo.
god.
Like there's really
Uh, I
no
definitely
scarcity there.
I definitely kept running out of glue gun, but that's because I kept using it on the enemies to just freeze them in place.
Yeah, because you didn't shoot
Yeah,
things.
well, yeah,
You fucking went through it in the most
yeah. I
painful
glued
way
everything and I
possible.
wrenched them all to death. But like that was before, and this was the part that really solved it for me. Is when I got this chipset that lets you regenerate your like psycho power, and after that, I just became Palpatine, and I just didn't worry anymore.
Yeah.
And so I kind of want to ask this for both Thomas and Ben, starting with Ben. Is what you're describing like enjoyable? Did you find that enjoyable? Did you think it was executed well?
At the beginning of my playthrough, I was pretty miserable and low on the game because of it was like System Shock remake all over again where I'm just wrenching everything. But eventually when I got more options to do stuff, especially with like the mimic powers and the stealth, I just felt like I had a lot more leeway to do what I wanted. I was enjoying myself a lot more.
When did misery turn into fun?
Pretty much when I unlocked mimic powers.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I think for me at least the worst part of this game is the combat, and I think some of that was probably compounded by the fact that I knew that the end of this game had some kind of morality system, like quote unquote. So I went through the entire game without selecting a single neuromod. Full disclosure, this was the second time that I played through this game because I played through it back when it came out in 2017 or whatever. But I used the Typhon powers then, but this time I didn't use a single one. And so running through the game, mowing everything down with the shotgun like I was playing fucking Doom was actually not very fun. It was very, very bland, very, very like I'm playing a game from the 90s sort of play
That's actually a
patterns.
good point that you bring up that I was thinking about, not about this game, but another arcane game, which is Dishonored. And I really disliked the quote unquote morality system in that game where like if you kill too many people or there's like a chaos meter and you get the bad ending if you cause too much chaos. I just really don't like systems like that because that's like it just reminds me of like those old BioWare games like Knights of the Old Republic where it's just like you click on the blue thing or you click on the red thing. Like it's so stupid. And the
Yeah.
worst version of that was
Well,
like BioShock where like you choose to like I forgot if you like harvest or save like the little sisters and it's just literally just which button do you press and that like determines what end you get. I just think it's really silly.
it's like for me, sometimes that works and sometimes it doesn't because I don't know if you guys know this about me, but I fucking love Infamous, the video game series that was on what PS3, PS4, maybe just PS3.
Mm-hmm.
And
PS3.
that was like a cardinal example of like you literally either choose blue or you choose red. But what I liked about it in that game is that it's like a full commitment to like fulfilling the fantasy of what that means. So like if you choose to go red and you're going evil, then you're like fucking sucking the life out of people. You're just killing people for no goddamn reason. But on top of that, like all of your fucking electricity turns like red and black. So it just gives you this like really nice like power and visual fantasy. I think my problem with it in this game is that, and like maybe Ben, you can correct me if I'm wrong because I didn't go full Emperor Palpatine, but I don't really feel like it fulfills that power fantasy of like committing to a specific thing. Like you kind of do it and then you can do it more, but I feel like nothing ever really gave me that like sensation of trivializing combat like in any kind of way. Everything was always kind of hard.
I actually liked it in this game, not in because it didn't do that. I liked it because it had actual consequences for doing it, like specifically the nightmare encounter mechanic, where I don't think you experience that if you don't put any points into like the mimic powers.
You do.
Because oh, you do?
You
Okay, never
do.
Yeah.
mind.
I got it. I only got it. I don't know how often it shows up if you're like jacking it up, but throughout the entirety of the game, I think the nightmare, I think it chases you the first time you go to the arboretum
Okay.
scripted, so that will always happen. And then I think outside of that, it was only maybe one time, maybe twice, but I think
Okay,
only
because for
once.
me, I got chased multiple times, and I was explicitly told by January that it was because I keep like dipping into the mimic pool, and she was like, "You should probably stop," and I was like, "No, I'm gonna keep doing it." So the mimic kept coming, and then she was like, "Okay, you're gonna keep doing this. I'm gonna help you out. You have to go out into space, and you find like this like satellite, and you can like triangulate it and fuck with
Yeah.
the nightmare that way." So I thought that was really
That's
cool that
cool.
that all stems off of my choice to become like a half mimic person.
Yeah, I also did that quest, but then after I did it, the nightmare never chased
Oh
me
yeah, that's true.
again.
Because
So
same with me. Because I did it at like the very end of the game when I was just ready to beat it.
I had like 4 encounters with the nightmare, I think, and I took 0 mimic upgrades, so I don't know what
Uh,
triggers it.
so in that, I mean, now that I hear that, maybe the system isn't as cool as I thought it was.
Yeah, it's definitely weird where like I think games like this can run that like I think Baldur's Gate 3 avoids it really well where like if the rules of what is going to be a consequence of your action is explicitly laid out to you, then the game needs to be really, really, really good about following through with that. Otherwise it's just gonna feel like shit, which I'm sure was Jordan's experience in that case. Did you even get the voice line that said like this is happening because of neuromods, or like
Nope.
did that just not happen?
I thought it was just happening because that was a game mechanic that they thought was a cool idea. To have me
So,
just go sit in another
Yeah,
area
it's
for
like
3
wait,
minutes and then come back.
wait,
it's like
that
some Metroid
that means
Dread
that I
shit.
experienced like an illusory mechanic. Like they faked me out with some
It
dialogue.
might go. It's probably just a percentage chance that gets higher the more neuromods you have, and I probably just got unlucky.
Yeah, I'm thinking you probably just got unlucky. Because wait, did you say that you took the
0.
Typhon neuromods?
0.
I forget. Okay, yeah. I don't know, because yeah, like I said, outside of the one time that I'm pretty sure it's scripted, I didn't get it a single time. Well, I got it
Yeah,
one
that's
time, and
crazy.
that was it. And it was like towards the end of the
I got
game, even.
one fucking early. First time going to. Oh, I can't remember the name of the areas in this game because it's all the same shit. It's the place where you got to do like the singy shit. That's the where I ran into it the
Oh,
first time.
crew quarters and
Yeah, yeah, I think it's crew
Oh yeah,
quarters because that's what I
the crew
wanted to say.
quarters.
Yeah, that was the
that one
first
might be
one.
scripted
Yeah.
because that was my first one too.
Yeah, I don't know because I think I got the tutty there too, but I imagine the tutty just shows up when it first, like the first time you see it. So
Yeah, I know that the first time I saw it was just literally in the beginning lobby, like the literal first open area of the game.
What the
oh
fuck?
damn,
I mean, not when I first got there, but like later when I revisited, that's
yeah,
when I first saw the
Oh, okay,
nightmare.
okay.
I don't think I ever saw it there.
Yeah, that's crazy.
That's crazy.
So here's the thing about my playthrough is that even though it spawned and tried to chase me twice, I never actually saw it ever. Because in the Arboretum, I was like, oh yeah, this thing, and just kind of ran on to continue my objectives. And then the second time it showed up when I was in Halden Graves' little lab thing, and it spawned somewhere where it couldn't get to me, so I just kind of waited for the timer to go down and fabricated a bunch of neuromods and
Yeah,
moved on with my life. So I never even
Yeah,
saw
that's
it.
what I did too most of the time. I just treated it like a survival horror experience where I would just find a corner and just like crouch and sit there like I'm playing like player unknown like battlegrounds or whatever, just like hide in the
just wait
bathroom.
for the circle. That's
Yeah,
funny.
exactly.
Yeah, it's really weird because like I like a lot of the concepts of the nightmare mechanic. Like if it's supposed to be an increasing percent chance, the more neuromods you have, great. I don't know why you like need to punish players for going down the talent tree, but like conceptually it's fine in terms of being a immersive sim. But and I don't hate the idea of like randomly walking into an area and now the butcher is chasing you and you have to hide from it. Like that idea can work, but I feel like it's missing a couple things to make it not feel terrible. So like for example, I did that same thing as Ben where like I'm in the crew quarters and I knew there's a little like maintenance shaft that I can hide in to turn the power in the bar on and off. So I just went in there and hid. And that felt pretty cool. It's like, oh, it's spooky. I'm like hiding from it. I fooled it, whatever. But the problem is now I have to wait there for 2 minutes and 30 seconds after I
Mhm.
get that small dopamine rush. So like, why isn't there some kind of system like there's stealth systems in the game, so why not make it so it's like if it's aware of you, then the timer goes down slower. If you're hiding from it and you avoided it, why not make the timer go down quicker? And that just felt like so on the nose to me that it's really surprising to me that it was implemented as such.
Yeah, like just
I don't know. I think I would like, me personally, like I sort of kept in the back of my mind the entire time I was playing this game that it's fucking 10 years old, and I think systems like that just tend to show their age really bad, and I think like that mechanic specifically I think just shows its age
I
pretty
don't give that a
horrifically.
pass because I feel like Metal Gear Solid has a system like that when you get found, and that's fucking 30 years old.
Yeah, but there's plenty of other games that also do it horrifically too. So I mean, this game is just kind of like middle of the road, right? Don't I think it's just kind of, it's not good and it's not terrible because like I just pretty much completely ignored it, so it never really got in
I
my
get the
way.
feeling that it became the way that they implemented it in this game because of like testing. Because I imagine the the ideal, at least on paper, of this kind of system would be like Alien Isolation. But I feel like
Mhm.
someone like me would fucking hate the game if it was like that, and that's why they just went with like the timer.
Yeah, exactly.
I feel like the
Yeah.
important thing that Alien Isolation did well is that I haven't played this game, so I'm not 100% sure, but I'm pretty sure what made it good is that like the monster is fucking smart. Like it'll open lockers that
Mhm.
you're hiding in and shit like that, but like once you find a safe spot in Prey, all of the tension is gone and you just have to wait.
Yeah, but again, Alien Isolation, that entire game was built around that
Yeah,
mechanic. Like that game doesn't exist without that mechanic being as fleshed
yeah.
out as
This
it
is
is.
much more systemic, where it has to also interact with the combat system, which, as Thomas has alluded to, is not the most robust thing in this game. Where, like, it's cool that it's systemic, but like I experienced the same thing that Thomas did, where like I could actually see the nightmare, and I would just hide behind a literal doorway where it couldn't fit. And I could just see him just standing there, just flailing around while I just watched the timer go down. Like I could just
Yep.
literally see him with my eyes, and it's just like whatever, you
Yeah.
can't touch me.
Yeah, that's a
Yeah,
screenshot I just posted where I ran into like a corner and then he looks like he should be able to go in that room, but he couldn't. So I was like, okay, I guess I'm gonna go take a shit for 3 minutes because I got nothing to do.
That's
yeah, I
funny.
feel like all of us experience this one way or another. Like in Thomas's case, you didn't even like see the thing, and in my case, I hid from it the one time, but that was after an instance where I just ran around in a circle for 3 minutes. And like the issue is that like if the mechanic is in the game, why is it in the game? And by all accounts, it seems like it was not successful in promoting the experience they wanted to promote.
I think it was cool. Like it felt cool that it was there. It just wasn't very mechanically interesting.
Yeah, I think it was just, it's a combination of the actual shallowness of the mechanic and the sort of like forcefulness behind it, where I think it could have been better if you were forced to engage with it in certain ways, but like the fact that like every time it showed up in my game, it was just like a timer, and I was like, oh, okay, well, let's just go like do some other shit for 3 minutes, and it had zero material impact on my experience. Like it could have literally never been in the game, and nothing about my playthrough would have changed even a little bit. So that, I mean, that's really the problem with it as far as my
I think it just has like
experience
a
went.
conflict of design where you either need this mechanic to follow you to area to area, or you need to make it so there's no timer when you are safe from it. Because just having to leave the area and be like, I'm going to do something for 90 seconds sounds like awful. Like, I don't think waiting mechanics are ever like a good idea in games, basically, unless there's a reason to wait. Especially if it's stopping you from doing a thing that you're like, I want to do this thing, but you need to just wait.
Yeah, because like it's
Yeah.
survival horror. Like we're talking about Alien Isolation or like Amnesia is another example where like there's long swaths of that game where you have to like wait, let your sanity or whatever it's called in that game go down, wait for the thing to move on a little bit. Oh shit, it came
Mhm.
back. You move back. But like games like that work because the tension is there at all times. And this game is a survival horror game. Like I don't think it's just wearing that on its sleeve. Like the mimics are successful at evoking that feeling throughout the entire game, I think. But the nightmare just isn't.
Yeah, and I think it goes back to the combat system where those games like Alien Isolation, Amnesia, it's built around that like tension and that horror that feel when like the alien or
Yeah.
the monster is like slinking by and like you're like you're like stressed out waiting for it to go over. Whereas in this game, the nightmare exists in a game where you're supposed to be able to like walk up and wrench everything to death, and it's just like that's just the way it is.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Because in the games that really lean into that survival horror aspect that want to make you feel the horror, you versus the monster, like you versus the xenomorph, like that's a 9-1 matchup. Like you are just gonna lose unless you have the very specific setups or like low use megalixir type items or whatever. But in this game, like in the back of my mind, I was just thinking like even if this nightmare shows up, I'm just gonna fucking mow it down with my shotgun. Like I don't even care. So like it you can debate the merits of this game being a survival horror on that, I guess, where it was like the combat was just so trivial. I just sprinted everywhere and just killed everything so quickly that the tension never even for a second was there because I was so much stronger than all of the enemies. And that extends also to the nightmare.
Were you on easy or
specifically.
normal?
I started on normal and I wanted to play it at work, so I bopped it down to easy. But the first time I played it on normal, and I remember my experience being largely the same. I was also better at games in 2017, so maybe that helps. I don't know.
Did you guys ever like experience? Let me back up. So I think the start of the game is the strongest in virtually every way, but particularly in the survival horror element, like when the very first mimic turns into the mug and fucking bodies the dude while you're in the chamber. Like that shit's really cool. Cool opening. Did any other moment in the game surpass the intro for you guys?
Yeah, for me, when the big Typhon fucker shows up, I thought that was badass.
You're talking about like the very end of the game?
Yeah, where you have to like bring
Yeah,
Alex
the
into the room or
Apex
whatever
Typhon.
while
Yeah.
like the world's going and
Interesting.
shit. I thought that part was fucking awesome. It didn't resolve in anything cool, like a fucking fight with that thing or anything like that, but just the
Yeah.
idea of like, oh fuck, the whole fucking spaceship is now going to be fighting me was really
Yeah.
sick.
I agree. That cool. That part it was like an Uncharted set piece moment. I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Because I
What about
can't
you,
remember if I felt this on my first playthrough or not, but on this playthrough, it felt like very out of nowhere, like very very sudden. And I don't know if maybe I just didn't do like side stuff that like hints that like this big fucker is gonna come and eat the spaceship. But the only hint that that's about to happen is like right before when Alex says like they were reaching out to the stars and I don't want to know what for. And then it's just like there and it's gonna eat the
Yeah.
ship. And it's like yes, it's very cool like visually. And like what it does to the spaceship, and it is definitely like a huge oh fuck moment. I don't even think you can go to the exterior of the ship at that point, but imagine if you could. Oh my god, I would shit my pants. But I don't know. It just felt very jarring when it showed up for me.
I don't know. It felt like that was the kind of the answer, right? Because a lot of the game is like, we don't know what these things are or why they are, but then you just get like the big mama, and you're like, oh, that's why they are, at least, kind of thing for me. Like it's not like you said, they don't spell it out. It's not like Ragnarok's coming or anything, but I think you kind of understand like there's going to be some kind of thing that these things culminate to, and it's like, oh, there's the thing.
Yeah, and I would actually somewhat push back that the game does zero build up to that kind of thing because I do feel like the game does establish a sense of scale as you're traversing around and as you do the spacewalks and stuff. Like you realize you're not in like a small scale place, and some of the enemies start getting pretty large. But the main thing I think is once you realize as you're backtracking to places you'd been previously and all of the new coral and shit starts showing up, like something is building towards something. Um, so I can kind of see where you're coming from there, Seth, but I wouldn't say it's like totally unbroadcasted before it
I kind of like it better
happens.
that it's not broadcasted, like a Cthulhu kind of thing, where you're just like, what the fuck?
Yeah, and I agree with you too. I think that was probably the coolest moment of the
Yeah,
game.
because
But
like even though it does
I was wondering.
like
Sorry, go ahead.
even though it does kind of come out of nowhere, it forces a conclusion to the story in a way
Yeah.
that I feel is satisfying.
I guess that's
Yeah,
true.
even though the story of this game is poo ass butt shit.
Well, why do you feel that way?
I mean, I guess it's mostly just specifically the conclusion of this game. I mean, this is the most it was all a dream ending of like since whatever the fucking "it was all a dream" meme got
Mario
invented
2.
by whatever it was. Like, yeah, this game is really egregious about that because this game was obviously meant, or the ending was obviously meant to be sequel bait, and that sequel never happened.
I
So
don't agree.
Yeah, I kind of don't agree either. Like,
Specifically-
how can you get a Prey 2 out of that ending?
Well, but
what are you talking about? The entire fucking Earth is covered in
Yeah, but
coral.
I mean, it's
that-
definitely sequel bait.
Yeah, you play as Dylan
Really?
Faden to go clear all the core.
Okay, fair enough. That is a good point.
But-
It would be control resonant, but sorry for cutting you off, Seth.
But yeah, the reason I disagree is because yes, like you are experiencing the reconstruction of like this spaceship, but it's not that none of that happened. Alex says in the post credits that the simulation was recreated based on the memories of Morgan. So like all of that stuff happened. It could have happened exactly how your playthrough went, and I think that it's probably not implied that that's the case, but it might be. But I think that it's implied enough that all of that still happened that it's still like a satisfying post credits if you are going to do something like that. I think it's very hard to do successfully in a way that doesn't dismantle itself as described. But I think that one line just does enough for me where I can accept that, like, okay, all of this still happened. It's not like devaluing the events of the game.
I think it's a go, Tom.
I mean, I thought that it was very specifically implied to not be the events that happened because they are testing you, whoever the Typhon is, to see if humans can put themselves into the Typhon. And so it sounds to me anyway like they give little, maybe small breadcrumbs of Morgan's memories, but then it's your choices throughout that allow them to say, okay, maybe this is one where we can try and put human characteristics in. Or if you go through the entire game and you kill a bunch of people and you don't help anyone out, then they literally just say, okay, we have to start over, and they kill you. I think it's very much not implying that the events of the game happened as
Yeah, I think
told.
there are events that happened with the character, and then I think they put you in the shoes of that character and see how you would react. So I don't think what you did is what actually happened.
Yeah, no, I'm
Even
not disagreeing
if
with that.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is that if it is possible that the sequence of events occurred such that like the actual Morgan killed Dr. Igwe and blew up the space station, like those are the two main events that happened, just as an example. But then the simulation was created with like those parameters in mind, presents those as options, and maybe they were options for Morgan, and then the simulation is ran to see if the Typhon would like do the same actions as Morgan, for example.
I guess speaking from like a utilitarian game dev perspective, I kind of like the way that they did it, where it's just all a dream. Because if we're taking it as sequel bait, which I'm coming around to, like that's the best way to tie up and go into a sequel. Whereas, and it avoids stuff like Mass Effect, where there's like big choices you can make in Mass Effect 1 and 2, and then in 3 they're like, oh, it's too complicated to handle these. Just have like evergreen choices because it's just too much.
Yeah, I think that, like, for me, this here's how I think about it, okay? Prey's story is like if the first Matrix movie ended halfway through and never got any sequels. Like Keanu Reeves wakes up in the real world, roll credits, and you never know anything
Yeah.
ever again. I think that it would be fine if this game had gotten a sequel or had the story threads that are set up kind of played out, but that never happened. So what I'm left with is just half of a Matrix movie.
I mean, I agree with both of you basically. Like, I think it's definitely like set up for a sequel, but I don't mind that like it's all a dream because I think
Yeah,
it's like a cool way of doing it's all a dream instead of just being like nothing happened, lol.
yeah, and that's all. Yeah, I mean, I didn't explicitly say that, but I agree. Where like even though it is sequel bait and it was all a dream, like I still felt satisfied with the ending for some reason. I can't really quantify why, but I thought it was just like a clever way to end the game and to respect all the choices you made, even if it was just a simulation.
I think it's because it's like I mentioned this on another topic. I forget what it was, but Like basically, if you're gonna do something like this with the post credit scene, you need to have a base ending that's still satisfactory. And I think that all of the I think it's like 3 primary endings where you like blow up the spaceship, you leave on the shuttle, or you leave on Walter Dahl's fucking thing, and or you blow up like the resonator or whatever the fuck it's called, the psi amplifier, whatever the fuck. Like all those are still pretty satisfying. Like there's still cool story beats that like follow through on what the characters have been built up to as such up until that point. And I think that none of that would work if it did dismantle all of those by like if it literally said all of this was a dream. You're on fucking like Mars and there's like candy bars over here and like you were in a simulation and now you're in candy bar land. Like all of that would be ridiculous. But I think it does enough in a short time frame where I don't think it dismantles everything completely.
Well, sure. I mean, if it set itself up as like a total non sequitur that just invalidated your agency as a consumer, then that would be like literally the worst ending of all time. But I think that this game is not like more than a couple degrees of separation from that because again I'm kind of subscribing to the fact that I don't think any of this stuff actually happened and that it's just all a test. I mean the game literally starts with a personality test, so I think that that's really all that the entire experience that the player character goes through in this game, and that's still kind of a disconnect from the stakes of what happens and to some degree a little bit invalidating of that agency. Not entirely, like in your example, but it is a little bit, and that's just that's a knock against the story
Yeah,
for
I mean, I
sure.
can certainly see how, like, you could feel that way, because like it's a very, very dangerous tightrope to walk when you're gonna do this kind of ending. I just like basically, I came away with that the feeling that you're describing after I beat the game this time. But I don't know. I just thought about it for a little bit, and I was like, I feel like the choices I made still matter enough. Like I still feel good enough about
Yeah.
everything that I did, like conceptually. And then on top of that, I think the reason that I really like it overall is because it's kind of just consistent with the rest of the game. Like the entire game is kind of just trying to fuck with you. Like January, December, Alex, they're all just like posing you these different like moral problems that are just like fucking with your head and making you doubt who you are as a person. And I feel like it's a good ending to kind of capitalize on what they had built up to until then.
Yeah, I actually do agree with all of that. But again, the problem that is just kind of unfixable for me is always going to be the fact that I feel like this game ended during Act 2 of a story and we never got an Act 3 because that I mean that's literally what it
Would
is.
you have liked it more if it was still a simulation for some other reason than sequel bait?
I think yeah. I think if you woke up after the simulation and you got interviewed by all the various NPCs you interacted with throughout the game and it never showed you like the world is being apocalypted by Typhon and look at all of the coral that's covering New York City, if they just axed all of that out and didn't dangle the thread in front of you and it just ended up being this sort of ending about I don't know, fucking humans v nature and like humans wanting to put themselves inside of this alien being, and that was just the story. I think yeah, I would have liked it better because that feels like a conclusion
Okay,
to
that's
me.
fair. So you just don't feel like even with what they presented, like basically it sounds like you feel like there was a conclusion to the game, but they undermined it by saying there was not actually a conclusion. There is still work to be done.
Yeah, they basically like you go through the process of deciding Talos One's fate, and then right after that they say, "Oh, by the way, the world's ending. Roll credits." I think if they had just made the entire game me deciding Talos One's fate and then axed all that other shit out, then I would have liked it a lot more. Because let me be clear, I actually think that the story of this game is it's passable. It's not great. It's not bad. It's perfectly above average until the ending, and the ending is just kind of what torpedoes everything
Jordan,
for
Ben,
me.
thoughts?
I don't know. I just like I can definitely see that interpretation. I just for some reason really liked it. I don't know why.
And I don't like St. Peter's at the pearly gates judgment of everything that you did ending. So yeah, I didn't. I thought like the simulation idea like that didn't really bother me at all. But I hate when they're like, you did this and you did this and you did this and now we're gonna do this to you because you did all that. Like I don't know. I just think it's kind of hammy. Like you couldn't have figured out how to give me consequences for these things like as they were happening. Like we're doing it now that I'm trying to get into heaven.
Yeah, I mean, it would be better
Yeah,
without
I guess
that.
I guess
agree.
I'm just looking at it from like utilitarian perspective of making the game itself, where I'm just trying to think of a satisfactory ending that would respect the choices. And I don't know, I just think that what they made was passable. Like I'm not saying it's the best thing ever, but like it doesn't make me think of like Expedition 33's ending, for example.
I I agree that I think it would be better off without showing the monitors of the world being destroyed. I can't tell from my perspective how much of that is because a sequel wasn't made. But like when I'm looking at the post credits is kind of just like an immersive version of like a scorecard. I think that like at the end of the is why I'm okay with it because it just feels like kind of a gamified thing.
I just I
Yeah,
just I
I
just
agree with that.
daydreamed an alternate ending, which is kind of a rug pull. I think be kind of cool because it would play into like one of the parts of the narrative I enjoyed a lot, which was like the part about January and December basically being robots that were created by different versions of Morgan. Not different versions, but different like
No, you had it.
times of yeah,
Yeah,
different
different
times of
versions is
like
accurate.
his or her life. Where like if instead of like that ending where it's just a simulation, what if you just woke up and you were February? You know what I mean?
Oh, that's sick.
Oh, that would be cool. Yeah,
That'd be cool.
yeah.
That'd
Now
be
I
I think
wish
cool.
it's
that was
just
the
a
ending.
I think it's just a symptom of kind of the time and how BioWare games and shit used to always have like the recap of an ending of here's all the choices you made, lol, kind of thing. And I don't know.
Yeah, and
Oh yeah, the ending
yeah, and that's why
slides.
I think I like this ending, even if it is just undermining the whole purpose of the of all your choices, is because I liked that it was an immersive version of ending slides. Because I've always really hated like the lazy CRPG literal text
Mhm.
slides. Like I think that's just
Tides of
like the
Numenera.
lamest stuff. Yeah, like that, and even games I like Baldur's Gate 2, Throne of Ball. It's got the same thing where it just shows all the different characters and has like sliding paragraphs, and that's it. I just don't really like it.
So playing into what you said earlier about like you don't like when Mass Effect morality choices are a thing, where it's like you pick the blue path and here's your ending, or you pick the red path and here's your ending. Like, what about this style ending is different than that, and what makes you like it versus those kind of endings?
Because there's a lot more knobs that you can modulate in this game. Because I did a fuck ton of drug taking and becoming like a half Typhon person, but I still got the quote unquote good ending where they didn't kill me right away because I and maybe it's like a little too lenient because I let a lot of people die, but they
Yeah, it
still kind
is.
of described me as a pretty kind person at the end. So
So,
I kind of like that.
Yeah, it's way too
okay, so I got it.
lenient.
So you want to be a complete piece of shit, but you want to still get the good outcome.
No, no, no. Well, like I don't mind like that there's the different endings and you get the piece of shit ending for being a piece of shit. I just I just don't like the way that they do it in Mass Effect where it is literally choosing a color, whereas in this game there's a lot more than just choosing a color. It's like it's like a composition of basically every choice you make, even though that sounds like more than it really is, but it kind of is. Like every side quest that there is like contributes to it. It's not just like a color that you choose. It's like what you did.
Gotcha. So you
Yeah, it's how much you decide to do and how much you go out of your way to finish like certain
so
timed
you don't
goals and
care if you get
stuff.
locked out of like a good ending for being a piece of shit or anything.
Yeah,
You just
let me
want it to be like a culmination of your choices, and you don't want to create the dissonance of like I've been a shithead the whole time, but I'm gonna pick the blue one now.
yeah, so and I think there is like a level to the leniency that I do enjoy because like I brought up the example of Dishonored as being something that I didn't like where they had the chaos system where like if you didn't know about it and you just killed a bunch of people without knowing it, you didn't know that you were locking yourself into an ending and you already had been locked in since like the first mission. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah. I hate that in games like a lot because you're basically saying like I made some actions to get a thing that I didn't know was going to happen, and then in order to get a better thing, I'm going to have to redo every single action. I don't like that at all. I think that's only good if you like the game, and if you hate the game, it's really, really bad.
Because like Yeah, and also it just comes off to me, especially in games like Mass Effect and Dishonored, and also Deus Ex Human Revolution, where they did the same thing with like pacifist playthroughs, where it's like it's less about being an interesting reward that you get for your choices that you make throughout the game, and more of a bait for you just to replay the game again and like bump
Right.
up those like play
Yeah.
hours.
Yeah, that's exactly what I mean. Like, if you like the game, you will like that because again, you'll see all the endings. You'll have a different, like a different perspective when you play the game, right? So you can be like, "Oh, I'm going to be the good guy this time," or "I'm going to try to not kill people." But if you don't like the game and you got an unsatisfactory ending, you're going to fucking hate that.
Yeah, I think, and again, going back to the infamous example, which is not the best example, but like for me personally, for me that game worked on like second playthroughs because it does exactly that, where it just makes you feel like you need to play the game again. But I think the
Mhm.
important thing that makes it work in good games is when if you have to do that, the new gameplay is meaningful enough that the gameplay is like revitalized. So like for me in Infamous, it was just really fun unlocking the evil powers, like the evil alternate moveset powers or whatever the hell.
Mhm.
I don't know very many of these games that actually do that well, but I
Like
think that
Undertale?
yes.
So actually, funny enough, I was going to ask you, and maybe I think this is not totally analogous with what you're saying, but how do you think Automata fits into that between the A and the B
As it
playthrough?
relates to revitalizing the gameplay experience.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Yeah.
it definitely revitalizes it.
Mhm.
I don't know if I love playing as 9S, but I think that it's different enough that it's not going to make me not want to experience the story. It's unique enough. I won't say that it's like amazing, but I think that it was like, for example, I'll put it this way: if 9S did not have the hacking mechanic, and you just had to play as his slow, clunky ass, and that was just like the intended way to do it, I would hate it. Because like, did it revitalize it? Yes, but it like feels terrible to play. It's boring. It's slow. It like upset everything I liked about the fun combat from the 2B playthrough. But for me, it works because hacking is actually like a fun new gameplay experience.
Yeah, see, it's interesting because like I was thinking on it in terms of like I actually really I don't enjoy replaying games like this a lot of the time. Like there are exceptions, particularly within like the CRPG space, but like I can't imagine willingly wanting to go back and replay Mass Effect or Infamous or any of those sort of binary choice games where they did want you to play through it twice to see everything. Whereas in Automata, I think it was entirely more acceptable, even though you are literally just replaying the game essentially, and the events of the game just a little less fun. But for some reason, I loved it in that game, and I can't abide by it in almost
I
any
think it
other.
works very well in Automata because it was kind of designed that way where you are getting
Hmm.
I mean, yeah, you are replaying a lot of the game, but like the important part that you want to learn about that you're very invested in is the story and the lore, and you're
Yeah.
getting a lot of that getting injected into you in those other endings.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
I think
hundred
an
percent.
important component to that is that the 2B playthrough poses those questions. Like, what was 9S doing this entire time that he was kidnapped and fucking crucified? Oh, he was like hacking into the mainframe and like finding some uncovered secrets or whatever. So I think it kind of works from that perspective where it's like, yeah, is like the intro kind of boring? Is like maybe halfway through that playthrough still kind of boring? Yes, but you're thinking, oh wait, where was 9S when this happened? Oh, that's cool. So there's always a sensation of build
Yeah,
up.
yeah, and that's kind of that's what I mean too, because like on paper, for me at least, it should be like entirely unpalatable. And in fact, I think it's kind of the reason I've never wanted to replay Automata itself. Um, but yeah, I mean, it totally works for me in that game.
Is it weird to say that that's a good sign? Like, and to tie it back to Prey real quick, where like I beat this game and I have no desire to replay it again, but I still feel satisfied by the ending that I got.
I think it's the Baldur's Gate 3 effect, which I hate to
Mm.
call it the Baldur's Gate 3 effect because other games have obviously done it, like Prey, which came out however many years before. But I think when something feels like a culmination of your experiences rather than go through the left door, go through the right door, then that's going to make it feel more natural and therefore more satisfactory.
Yeah, for sure. Like, despite what I just said about how unpalatable I find replaying games like that, I was actually excited to replay this game. So
Stepping off
yeah,
of that, I feel like Baldur's Gate 3 just like blew me out of the water because like that's a game that I did want to and willingly did replay multiple times.
Oh
So
yeah,
maybe I'm
I
not
could do it
correct
again.
at all.
Um, I want to make sure we're getting anchored back down into Prey a little bit, because there's plenty of gameplay stuff that we can get into. Um, so we have several different like individual mechanics that we could get into. Is there any that draw your attention? I'm kind of looking at like the psychoscope. I kind of wanted to talk about like the exterior Talos traversal stuff or like the anti-gravity stuff. Um, like how there's no boss fights. I think that's an interesting choice. Which direction do you guys want to go?
I'm really curious what your guys' opinion of the hacking minigame was and how different mine is going to
I
be.
did. I mean, it was such like a nothing to me. Like it's almost insulting to say that I actually prefer the replace minigame, but that's also because like I didn't. That was like one of the best parts of replace was that hacking minigame. Whereas in this game, I got used to the hacking, but I never ever enjoyed it ever. Like it was never fun.
Wait, before the rest of you guys answer this, how high did you guys level it up? Did you level it all
Yeah,
the way up
I
to
got all the
4?
way to 4 because I wanted the way that I wanted to spend my skill points was to maximize the number of like areas that I could enter, and that was part of it.
Mhm.
Yeah, I did this. I did the
Yeah,
same thing, except I didn't take
I only leveled
leverage.
mine up to 2, and what I was gonna say is that I am okay with it at 2, and I would have fucking hated it if I had leveled it up to 4.
It doesn't. I mean, because the more you level it up, the like when you hack the higher level ones, you get an equivalent amount of extra time to do it. So it's like it's basically just the same thing. It's like it doesn't get harder, I guess is what I'm saying, which is also kind of lame, and that's kind of strange coming from me because I think I normally you would expect someone like me to prefer that, but like it really didn't change at all going from hacking level 1 to 4. It felt the same all the way through. It was just longer.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, yeah, it just was. um, I like it, but specifically because it's like a marble maze, but like simpler, and I've just always liked marble mazes, and I think they don't get enough credit in today's society. Um, yeah, but when you compare what System Shock's mechanic is to what this game's mechanic, it's like so funny. Like, yeah, just to think about like the first
Yeah,
time you
true.
see one of the pipe things in System Shock, and you're just like, oh my god. And then this game, it's like, I gotta get the cursor to the cursor, and then I press C.
Oh.
To be fair, I loved the hacking in this game so much more than System Shock. I fucking hated it in System Shock. I died way too many times in
So,
those fucking System Shock hacking
like I said before,
sections.
I did not like the hacking minigame in this game, but I did like it more than System Shock.
Yeah, System Shocks was brutal. This one I thought I actually liked it quite a bit because um, I felt like I was like annoyingly bad at it at first. I was like, what is wrong with me? Am I really this old? But as time went on, it got smoother and smoother, and I actually like enjoyed the times I did it because it was just like a nice break in the game loop, and it felt just engaging enough that it was engaging.
And
But yeah, I actually liked it.
did you level it all the way up to 4, and did you still enjoy it, Thomas?
Oh yeah, I hacked
Huh.
everything. I was excited to see the
Oh
hacking
yeah, it
thing.
makes the end game a lot easier because like you get to hack all the those like floating military turrets that the that doll sends after you.
Oh yeah, I hacked all them
Yeah, I don't know. I
fuckers.
just felt like level 2 was like the perfect length for me to have like a little bit of fun with it, and then I get to move on. Because yeah, I think it's like a perfectly fine minigame. There's definitely worse minigames in these type of games out there. But I thought it was perfectly short enough. I actually kind of like the music that plays when you're doing it because it kind of like pumps your blood up just a tiny little bit. And I'm not gonna say that it has depth, but it's actually kind of hard if you wanted to like min max. Like if there's like speed runs out there for like the best time trials of hacking, I bet it's actually like really hard to do.
I wish there were more patterns because I felt like I was saying like the same
Yeah,
two
true.
over and over again.
Yeah, me too. I agree with that. It's like they wouldn't be hard to make, but yeah, it felt like there was maybe like 10,
Should have
if
had a
that.
control 2 at the same time for the highest level.
That'd be cool. Like that one
Yeah.
platformer you said you're
I
never
mean,
gonna
so I
pick.
think I I have a lot of issues with this game and trying to be like survival horror, but then everything else they designed besides the combat is like anyone can do it. Like, and I think that the hacking is part of that. Like, I think it's just exact opposite design philosophy, just because they're AAA and they have to apply, like, they have to appeal to as many people as possible. Because I think the System Shock hacking should be what this game's hacking is based on this game's gameplay. Like, you shouldn't see a hacking terminal and be like, "Hooray, I'm going to get rewards." It should be what System Shock is, where you're like, "Oh, not again."
What are
That's fair.
other examples of that you have?
Other examples of what?
Because you said, like, based on the gameplay, everything should basically be like tough as nails, and hacking is like the opposite of that. You
Yeah.
mentioned there were a couple other examples of that, I think.
Yeah, I don't want to say like tough as nails. It's more just like a sense of isolation that the game's trying to give you, like, and like helplessness, where I feel like it's trying to just and another example is like with how System Shock has everything in it puts everything like in a med bay, and you have to constantly go back to the med bay to heal, and I think that's like pretty iconic. This game felt like it just gave you like a million fucking ways to heal all the time, and I never really felt like I was gonna die unless I took
like
like
how
100
the-
damage instantly.
Or like how the recycle and crafting stations are like basically yellow painted. They're in the most convenient possible locations as compared to
Sure.
System Shock, where you had to fucking find that shit.
Exactly. Or like
I- Now that
Yeah.
I've heard you describe it like that, it kind of makes me want to go back to something I wrote in my notes, and it's really stupid. I'm gonna say it anyway, even though I know it's stupid. But like when I was thinking of how we played System Shock Remake, I felt like, as far as immersive sim goes, like that definition, like I do think that Prey is an immersive sim for sure. Like even if you take like the most like strict definition of it, but like System Shock Remake, and by proxy, obviously System Shock, that's like the NGU idol of immersive sims, and like Prey is more of like a node buster. Like
I agree.
it cribs more of like the
A
BioShock
million.
type of like aesthetic, and that even goes into like this other question I think Thomas wrote in the OneNote, which is like the Art Deco stuff. Like I feel like, I mean, I like the way that it looked, but like I really do feel like it was only Art Deco because they just wanted to like rub it into your face, like, yes, this is like BioShock, yes, this
Yeah.
is an immersive sim.
Absolutely. I agree 100%. If System Shock somehow in a universe didn't exist, but the universe kept going on, this game would look nothing like what this game is. This game is literally just like, what are we doing in this game? I don't know. Let's go look what System Shock did, and then let's do that, because it feels just like that. But then they're like, ooh, we have to make money, so let's just kind of lighten up a lot of these mechanics so that a lot of people are gonna like it.
Yeah, this game really is Diet
Yeah.
System Shock in a lot of ways, for sure. I don't necessarily myself anyway see that as kind of a bad thing, I guess, because System Shock definitely leans more into what you were saying, Jordan, of like the resource scarcity aspect of it, where in System Shock, like shit was scarce. You had to backtrack so much. Like that game could become a slog for that reason sometimes, whereas this game just felt way more
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I agree, but
Uh,
what I'm saying is I think that that's actively bad, because that arcadey style should also be carried to the combat, and I should be playing this game like it's fucking Doom. Like, it should just be like, and I should be going around fucking things up, but instead I have this weird like run away from things, but then everything else is like, hey, it's junk food.
Yeah, so that, and this goes back to like just being a product of its time, because like I feel like you can't really, and this isn't just for this genre, but basically for like any genre of games, where like when you increase the fidelity of the graphics, you can't really carry over arcadey style mechanics and animations and stuff like that. It just would look weird, and that, it's also the reason why like remakes of certain games look so stupid. Where like
Counterpoint is Doom 2016, which came out a year before this.
I just want to clarify: are we talking about visuals or like gameplay elements with this?
I think I'm talking about the confluence of the two.
Yeah, Ben just talking about how hard is it to make like those quick as fuck games back when they looked terrible, to bring them up to speed with how games look now and still keep them quick as fuck, which I think the Doom games do fantastically.
Yeah, but like if you're talking about Doom 2016, I feel like it's
Yeah.
still fundamentally different from the old Doom games.
Oh, well, sure.
There's still like a lot of animation lock and stuff with the execution moves,
Yeah,
and that's just something that you wouldn't have in those old ass games.
true.
It's like the difference between like Street Fighter 2 Super Turbo and like Street Fighter EX2, which is like that 3D one where there's like a lot of
Game's sick.
frames of animation, and I do like the game a lot actually, but it just feels different, right? Like there's just so much more to the animation as opposed to something like a 2D fighter where it's very snappy and responsive.
So to bring that back to play, how are you saying that's Yeah,
Yeah.
analogous to Prey.
So if you were to take like the old System Shock combat into this game, which I mean, I guess they kind of did, but like even the fidelity of the animations, where you're just the wrench animation is much less involved, whereas in Prey it has like the wrench executions, which would not be in the old games, and it just
Mhm.
feels more cinematic. But if you like made it arcadey like those old games, I don't think people would accept that. Like the lowest common denominator, which is the most important population of the gaming purchasing power for, like, I'm sure there's a better term for it, but I think you guys know what I mean, right?
Sure.
I
Yeah, I
think
think you're
like
probably right. Go ahead, Seth.
I think like my personal interpretation of what you're saying is that like I think a lot of the things that feel good in System Shock, at least in the remaster, I'm not sure about the original. I think a lot of the things that felt good in that game almost felt like things that were unintentional or things that you were breaking. So like for me specifically, what I'm thinking of is like fucking rocket booting around and laser sorting something in half, and you're going like 100 miles an hour down every single room. Like, is the game giving you that as an option? Yes, but it kind of feels like you're breaking the rules of the game at the same time because of the amount of power that it gives you. I think that literally the like neuromod powers in this game, and like most of the means by which you are intended to traverse through like the combat and such, it's all like curated. So like all of that kind of goes down to the psychoscope, where like you are intended to scan a target, see what it's weak to, and use that against it. And neuromods are like very, very specific in what they do, and they don't go crazy like something like the rocket boots and System Shock do. So it's a more curated experience, but I think that it's one of those things where it brings up the average, but it also limits how high it's going to go for me.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean,
that's a
I think Ben actually nailed it with they're trying to create that experience for as many people as possible, so they need to have these kind of dissonant designs for it to work for people that don't play games very often. But I mean, that's kind of why I hate AAA games, is that they kind of always create this like weird sense of dissonance in design just to make them palatable.
You know, the interesting thing is you guys say all of that, but like one of the big things about this game was how poorly it was marketed, because specifically Bethesda just didn't think it would do well. Like they named it the same name, same generic ass name of a 2006 game. And what the fuck does the name Prey have to do with anything in this game? So like even though you're saying that all of these design decisions sort of coalesce into something that felt like it maybe got lost in playtesting or because of mass appeal or whatever, but like they knew that this game had no mass appeal. So I don't know if they necessarily tried to lean into
I mean,
that
yeah,
stuff.
that's I guess that's just me giving them an out, right? Because the other option is they just fucked up.
I mean, would that
Yeah, that
I
too.
mean, I don't know if this is a charitable or uncharitable interpretation, but do you think that would be a case of they started with wanting to make this like weird niche ass like System Shock style game with like weird mechanics that can be like really grating, and maybe the inventory is more limited, and maybe like the recycle bins were like much more hidden and you had to find them, but then like an exec from Bethesda is like, I played the test version of your game and my inventory was full and I couldn't do anything. Fix it or we're not going to publish you. Like, do
uh,
you think it's a case of something like that?
I don't. I think that they started from a baseline, like from the very beginning of development, as being like the node buster,
Yeah,
basically cribbing off of BioShock. I think that was like the
I
intent
agree.
from the beginning. It was never trying to be like old school, I think.
Yep. I think it was trying to take those old school mechanics and modernize them is kind of the idea. So basically exactly what Ben said.
I don't know. I could see this having. Here's my take on how the development cycle of this game probably went, because you got to remember there's people like Chris Avallone who wrote shit for this game, so like there were old heads involved in the design and development of this game, and what I think happened is they probably actually did want to create a sort of old head System Shock style sim that was going to lean into some of the like older kind of archaic design stuff, because a lot of this development team probably
Huh.
fucking worked on System Shock in one way or another, and so here they are 20 years later wanting to like try and make a throwback game. And then they got enough of a prototype that they went to their publisher Bethesda, and Bethesda was like, "We like the idea, but," and that's probably where you got like a 90-degree fucking turn towards what this game became, which was kind of like a half-assed version of System
Yeah,
Shock.
I mean, I could see it either way, right?
Yeah, it's hard to say for sure without literally like interviewing
Yeah.
someone like Chris Avallone. But like, I just get the feeling that like BioShock was such a pillar that it's just hard to avoid, and it just makes me think that like from the beginning the intent was to be a BioShock like.
I don't know. I still think it didn't start that way, but as soon as they put it in front of Bethesda, then Bethesda were the ones who were like, "Can you guys make this more like that game that did some numbers? What was that shit? BioSuck? Oh, BioShock. Yeah, can you guys do
Yeah, I
that?"
mean, I still feel like my events are my canon is like the most realistic, but like I do like imagining Todd Howard like giving that spiel to the heads of Arcane's like, you're just gonna do it this way, just make it like BioShock.
I think even if you don't have a
I
conversation
mean,
like that, there is a very high chance where they know where they work and who they're making games for, and they need to they know the conversation that's going to happen, so they just design it around the conversation without needing to have it.
Oh, so you're almost saying that, or maybe you're not saying this, but the way I interpreted what you just said is that it could be happening in the opposite direction, where they wanted to make a marketable product, but then they started fitting all of these things that they like from these old head games in there to try and like expose people to it.
I would think they would want to make the game that they would want to make, but then they're like, guys, Todd's not going to say yes. We need to do something
Yeah.
else.
I think we're all kind of agreeing in different
Yeah.
shades of gray, basically.
so here's a fun fact. The original name for this game before Bethesda changed it to Prey was Neuroshock. So I'm just going to say I
I mean,
was
Neuroshock
right.
sucks too,
What?
though.
Yeah, but the point is, what's another very
Yeah.
famous word in a very famous immersive
Prey is a very
sim?
bad name, though. I'll give it up. That's like probably the worst name they could have given it.
They wanted to name it Prey so that they could retain the IP rights to the 2006
Oh, dude, I
game.
love old
That's
game
hilarious.
stories like that because there's so much stupid shit like that happens.
So going back to what Thomas just said, I understand that you can like slot in System Shock as that like what they were being inspired by, right? But like I feel like you could also just say the same for BioShock as well, right? It's got shock in the name.
I mean, the difference being that this game was just full of old heads
Mhm.
making it, though. I don't know if that's true for BioShock. I have no
That's
clue.
old.
I think BioShock pretty meaningfully differentiated itself. Like if I were to play that game again, I don't even think I would consider it an immersive sim. Like it's like hardly there. It plays more like
Yeah.
Half-Life than an immersive sim.
Yeah, but
Because the differentiator here is the fact that Prey plays a shitload like the original
Mhm.
System Shock, whereas BioShock does
I
not.
feel like this for me it's about the phenotype where like and it's like about the art deco as well. Like that's what makes me lean into that direction.
I mean, that's the aesthetic. That's not the
Yeah, I
systems.
mean BioShock is clearly inspired, and so it's going to take a lot of like conceptual ideas from System Shock. But I think once it actually started going into the gameplay, they either didn't want or couldn't, based on the other things we've said with corporate driven rebranding.
Somebody picked that game, so I have to play it.
Now, I do definitely think that like the words BioShock were said many times in the design meetings for this game. Like don't get it twisted, but I think they were coming from a foundation of something like System Shock.
I think I'm starting to agree with you guys specifically because of like the salvaging system, which is like
Yeah.
one for one, the one from System Shock, in maybe like the worst way possible. I think you wrote somewhere in this one note where it was like a little frustrating to have to make one piece of the item like individually every time instead of being able to do it in bulk, which would have been a very nice quality of life. And is also part of the reason why
Yeah.
I felt so annoyed by the scarcities because like yeah I know I can like make more ammo but like that process is very very frustrating.
Speaking of those particular stations, uh, did the UI for those screens ever feel like kind of out of place to you guys? Like I felt like I was walking into a frozen yogurt store.
Huh? Oh, you mean like you
The
mean like
screen.
self-ordering
That's
stuff?
crazy.
Yeah,
Oh, that's
it,
very
it
funny.
literally like it looks and feels like I'm
It's so
like
funny.
doing one of those touchscreen menus at a restaurant.
Yeah, you
So funny.
you fucking walked into like a Korean boba tea restaurant or some
Yeah.
shit with like fancy
That's such a
touch screens.
2026
That's
problem because in
funny.
2017 you never would have said that.
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
like
this you
in-
in 2017 you'd be like,
Yeah.
"Oh my god, this is the most diegetic
Yeah,
shit I've
that's
ever
so
No,
seen.
here's the thing. It's even more diegetic now because what would a bunch of fucking loser ass scientists construct their UI to look like on their space
Yeah,
station? It would
that's
look
funny.
exactly like that.
It's very funny.
Like fucking bubble tea.
Yeah, I
Oh,
won't say
shit.
it took me out of it, but it was just funny because every single time I walked up to it, I was like, I can't wait to see what this.
Can I get
looks
extra
and tastes
boba
like."
with this neuromod, please?
Okay, let's knock out a couple of gameplay things real quick. If you guys don't have strong feelings, we can kind of just gloss past them. How do we feel about the Psychoscope or the Pokedex, as it is perhaps more accurate to be called?
Didn't give a shit. Hardly ever used
I
it. Mostly because I never planned on taking any Typhon.
yeah, so
nerd
I had to
mods.
use it a lot out of necessity.
Hmm.
Is it missable? Like, I'm actually curious
No,
because like
No,
impossible.
no,
okay,
you have to
You
have
need
it.
to get it. You
gotcha.
need to scan something to go through a door.
Okay,
Yeah, you have to scan the like little coral bunches or whatever at
okay.
some point.
So I
I
guess if
think.
as someone who did use it a lot to level up all the different neuromods for like the Typhon powers, I would have preferred just getting like experience from killing the enemies. Like when I say experience, I mean like experience for unlocking the Typhon powers and having it like you still get the psychoscope as an item, but you don't have to use it. It's just like a passive thing. I would have preferred that.
Yeah, if you're not using it as neuromods, it's the main function is going to be giving you telling weaknesses of the Typhon because you still might use like EMP grenades and stuff like that.
Yeah, but I just feel like, and I know this is like lazy and it's maybe more immersive to use a psychoscope, but I feel like just kind of hand waving it away is like having it just be a passive ability that you have. And like the more you mow down the mimics and typhons, the more you learn about them. And then it just updates your codex basically. And you look up the codex and you can see the weaknesses there. Like it would just have the same result, but just be not annoying to use, at least in my opinion. I just didn't enjoy using it. It just,
Yeah, I think that I do think that that is probably a better way than what how it was designed in this game. I think the reason why they probably couldn't do that is the fact that there isn't really respawning enemies. I mean, they respawn when you get to certain like story checkpoints or whatever, but I would be if the system worked the way you did and I wanted Typhon powers and um I was like one kill away from unlocking the next like greater mimic skill or whatever, and I was just running around hoping to find one. That would feel really, really
I think
obnoxious.
also something that would be annoying about that system is that like if you have to kill the enemy in order to find its weakness, wouldn't that also be really annoying?
okay, that's a fair point. But like,
Yeah, that
how
makes sense
about
too. Also, every enemy is just weak to shotgun bullets, just for
okay,
the
that's
record.
yeah. So I'm definitely gonna backtrack on that because I didn't even consider that. But still, being passive, it could still work the way it does. Where like when you're in the vicinity of the enemy, it just automatically scans, and it would still be
Yeah,
immersive, and
or
it would remind
Yeah,
you that you
it
have
could
the
be like
psychoscope.
it could be like a neuromod power and it just does like a big radius around you or something like that. Like some because yeah, I kind of agree
yeah,
with what you're getting at. Like it's number one, and this
me
is like a
too.
smaller UI thing, but I just kind of hated the act of putting it on. It's better than a menu, but I just dislike how it like coats my screen in these blue lines and like it covers my screen for a little bit as you're putting it on. I didn't like the feeling of doing that, even if it's kind of immersive. Um, but outside of that, I don't know. I didn't hate it.
Yeah, I
The
got a mod that
other
disabled that visual effect because I thought it was so stupid.
it it also reminds me of another like issue that I brought up earlier where like it kind of like make reminds you that you're playing a video game, kind of like when I level up the stealth and it just let me sprint past everyone without alerting anyone. When I'm just standing in front of an enemy in my quote unquote stealth, and I just put on like my fucking digital binoculars and stare at this alien right in front of me for like 5 seconds and it doesn't attack me or anything. It feels like I'm not there.
Hmm.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. I agree with everything you're
Yeah,
saying.
kind of along with that too. I felt like I don't I think it really wanted to feel immersive, but it really just ended up feeling like I was using VATS from Fallout 3. Like
Yeah.
it's actually taking me more out of the game, even though they're putting an emphasis on like trying to immerse me with it.
Are the Typhon powers like super strong? Are they like just like crazy game breaking?
Um, I just used it was a one-stop shop for me to kill everything. Maybe there was like one thing that was immune, but for the most part, it was just like I used the power and whatever I was looking at is dead.
So yes, they are really strong.
I think
Yeah.
also something that Ben wouldn't have used, but Thomas definitely would have if you use neuromods, is the one that slows down time, because that's going to make your shotgun bullets stronger.
Wasn't necessary.
It's gonna be so weird because I feel like I've talked so much shit about this game, and it's gonna be very dissonant with my rating.
Um,
Got to clarify it in the rating.
I was just gonna say, I wish it was harder to get the Typhon powers then, kind of like to make it a memorable experience of like, God, I had to scan all this stupid. I did play 4 levels of Pokemon Snap before I could just start fucking palpatining people. But again, I don't think that they would have the nuts to do
Yeah.
something like that with all the design of the rest of this game.
Honestly, what I was thinking when Ben was talking about having it be like a passive thing was I think that they should have just given it by story checkpoints, honestly. Like the first time that you fight one of those like giant fuck off typhons, I can't remember any of their goddamn names. The Weaver and then the other, the
Technopath, I
Techno
think.
drone or whatever the fuck. Yeah, Technopath. Like the first couple times that you run into those, just have it unlock some certain amount of levels of them and then like manufacture some other like pivotal mission point or even lock them behind side quests where like fighting them is for some reason meaningful and within that quest, and then just give the Typhon powers based on that. I think
Yep.
like that's how I
Yeah,
would
kind of
have
like a
done it.
Metroidvania award. I think that be yeah, that would
Yeah,
have been a
pretty
good way
much.
to
Yeah.
do it. But like, when you brought up Technopath, it actually sorry to like beat this dead horse again because I think we talked about the nightmare for like 10 minutes, but like I feel like the Technopath was like a really cool way to do something like the nightmare because I remember when I first ran into it, I was freaked the fuck out. I was like, I don't want to fight
Yeah.
that thing. That thing's scary. And like
Yeah, it's huge
basically
and
it was just like
freaky.
the kind of like the nightmare done right, where it's just like
Yep.
it's there and you have to deal with it. Maybe you just run away from it, but it's there and it's fucking intimidating.
Yeah, I think they do a good job. I think in terms of enemy designs, the Technopath is the best one because it is the, other than Mimic. Mimic is actually, but it does the best job of like hitting that immersive quality. And I mean that very literally because it's like you, the second time that you have to kill one, it's like glitching out a door and you click it, you click the door, and it's like, why the fuck isn't this
Yep.
working? Oh, well, I just saw a Technopath run by, so I must have to go kill that thing. And that's like a really cool, like, realization, understanding moment where it's like, oh, the game is actually fucking with me in a way that, like, not a lot of other games would, like, do because it's, like, kind of confusing, but they're willing to go that far.
I mean, that's what the nightmare should do. You shouldn't be able to leave an area of nightmares there, so it should have that effect. Because I think that effect is sick, where you're like, "Why can't I leave?" And then you're like, "What the fuck? This thing stopping me from leaving?" But then, the nightmare is just like, "Okay, bye. I'll be back in 2 minutes when you're not here anymore."
Yeah, and I think the way that the nightmare was implemented was definitely just a case of like playtesting where they just it frustrated too many people with probably like
Probably.
their intention of that
Yeah.
system.
Yeah, I can
Or
see
Papa
that.
Todd was like, "Nah, I didn't like this."
Okay, that was Psychoscope. Being outside of the Talos ship and doing your anti-gravity stuff and navigating through guts. How did you guys like that stuff? Because I fucking love that shit. I think that doing the anti-gravity stuff in this game gave me the predisposition for anti-gravity that I needed to love Outer Wilds, so it earns a special place in my heart.
I literally like wrote that down that I wanted to ask you that, but you said it before I could ask because yeah, I was like, I don't know if you'd like Outer Wilds as much as you would if you didn't play this game. Because the second
Seriously,
I
yeah.
started moving the suit around, I was like, oh, that's why he likes Outer Wilds.
I
Mhm.
love it.
I thought it was cool as a system for
Yeah,
sure.
I like it too.
But I didn't like that. I wasted a lot of time there trying to figure out like what door I needed to go to like get. There was one part, and I think you wrote a question in here, Seth, about like if you felt like there was any like narrative stalling, like if there was any point of that. And I felt like there was like that one time where Alex like locks you out of everything, and you have to go out into space, like it's like part of the critical path. But like I, I and maybe this is skill issue, like brain skill issue, but like it took me forever to find like the one door I could go into because Alex locked everything down, and it made me kind of resent the mechanic because I spent so much out there, so much time out there, just feeling like I'm wasting my time, and I was because I was just doing it wrong.
I can see that. I really like the system itself. I think the controls feel good. I think they do a good job of like making the underlying physics of how that would actually work like work to a way that's fun. But I do also agree that the actual act of trying to navigate outside of Talos 1 fucking sucks, and I wish that all of the various airlock entrances and exits were just labeled so that I could just go where I intended to go rather than just eventually saying, fuck it, I'm just going to go in this one and run the
I
rest of the
think that
way.
the absolute number one cardinal sin that this game makes is associated with that, but separate from the anti-gravity outside stuff, and that is the marker that says multiple objective. I
Yeah.
fucking hate that marker.
Yeah, I agree. I would constantly go to the journal to have to turn off other objectives so that it would only say one fucking objective, so I knew where the fuck I was going.
Yeah, but I feel like
Yep.
it's saying multiple objectives was like a design necessity because like otherwise like that UI would be a fucking mess.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's kind of what I was thinking too. I mean, there's got to be an elegant way to solve that problem. It's not my job to figure that out, so I have no idea what
There
that looks like. But I mean, other games have
there
done it,
there's like
so
a design solution that you could do, but it's kind of like it leads into like that sterile AAA design where like I think there was like a study from like BioWare where they determined that the maximum number of things that you should like the maximum number of objectives you should have to like not overload like the Madden players is 3. And I
Yep.
feel like if they implemented that, it would have fixed that problem, but it would have made this game feel a lot less interesting.
I think if this game wanted to go whole hog, then you just go like WoW classic style, and you have next to no objective markers except for like exceptional ones, maybe just the critical path ones. And the follow up that would need is more robust descriptions for the quest that describe where you need to go, rather than yellow painting with the objective markers. I think that's what I would prefer personally.
Papa Todd here, you can't do that. Put objective markers in.
Sorry, people can't read.
Then
There's
again,
no way they would have let him get away with that because
well,
this game would have been way too hard to navigate without objective markers.
I feel like the thing that they ended up with was a compromise that actually trended towards the old school because if it was like more Todd Howarded, wouldn't it just be like all the other Bethesda games where you just like choose one active quest and that's wait, no, that's not true. Fucking Skyrim has like markers all the time on the minimap. I'd have to think about it.
yeah, and they also do the multiple objectives thing. They just don't have
Yeah,
words.
so maybe that's a bad example. Maybe that is Todd Howarded the way they ended up with. But maybe I was just thinking of like Mass Effect or like those all those like AAA games where you choose one active quest and that's the only marker. Like that
Yeah.
would have solved the
Yep.
problem, but it also would have been it would definitely feel a lot less interesting to explore the game because like it is kind of cool where like every marker is on there so that while you're doing your natural exploration, sometimes you just get close to like one of your side quests. You're like, oh, I'm here. I might as well just do it.
You could just do it with the alphabet. A, B, C, D, E, F, G. It doesn't need to say multiple objectives, so you can go like, okay, there's A and B. There's like, I think there's ways to do it. I just don't think that they really cared to solve that problem.
Oh, so is your issue the fact that you can't distinguish it because it says multiple objectives? And
I think that's what
if it
Seth was
said
saying. Yeah.
if it said like A, C, D, that would have been fine.
If the quickest path if the quickest path to all of my objectives is one singular airlock, I'm not going to experience a problem. I'm going to experience a problem when there are two different airlocks that say multiple objectives because I'm still only trying to do one of the objective, but now I don't know which one I need to go to.
Yeah. So some kind of label system is what Seth wants, like just some way to be able to tell what objectives are what.
Okay, so I literally just saw this solution. It says multiple objectives, but when your crosshair hovers over it, it expands into the different quests.
Yeah, but you have to do proximity based for that then, right? Because you don't want to be looking across the map and you're like, why the fuck is this shit on my screen?
It already has
Uh,
some proximity based stuff, I think. Like it expands when you start getting closer
Yeah.
to it, I think. But anyway, that was a smaller point, but I mean we all agree it's an issue. So
Yeah.
but yeah, I don't know. I think like one of my standout moments when I played this game the first time was just traveling in anti-gravity through guts. Just because I think that's a concept that if you told me that the developers of this game wanted to create it so that they could create System Shock but with space flight, I would agree with you. Because I just think that idea and that feeling capitulates on so many things that these games try to do, and it's just so fucking cool. You feel like an astronaut. It's awesome.
When you
I'm
say System Shock was spaceflight, System Shock had spaceflight in the hacking mini game, right? They just expanded upon it. So you don't even need to say with spaceflight. It's again, they created System Shock.
mean-
Keep going.
This controls so much.
Well, yeah, they
the
expanded
System
upon it
Shock
though.
thing.
Like System Shock has that. You got to give it to System Shock.
Okay,
You don't feel like you're space flying though. You feel like you're in an arcade minigame.
Yeah, you're just like
I have a
hovering.
question I want to ask. It's very much a tangent, and we can just move past it after you guys call me an idiot for asking it. But like, if you're in outer space and you shoot a shotgun, does it really work the way that it does in Prey, where it shoots like a mass driver, kind of? Like, it
No,
just shoots like.
you would be doing
It
360s.
would
you
blow
would go
you
way far back.
backwards.
Okay,
You would
Yeah, you would start rotating like crazy, and
okay, so
you wouldn't go directly backwards unless it was at like your exact center point. If you're holding it like up towards your shoulder, like you
Yeah.
would with a shotgun, you would start like doing cartwheels.
That would be
if you pointed it like perfectly perpendicular from the perfect point of your center of gravity. Otherwise, the rotational force from shooting a shotgun is gonna turn you into a fucking
Yeah,
Ferris
I mean,
so
this
wheel.
game does not have like the most realistic anti-gravity, like because if you start accelerating, then like you will slow down over time, like pretty quickly even. But like one of the funny things in Outer Wilds, because Outer Wilds does it pretty accurately, is so many people just fucking go Mach speed into planets because they don't understand. I was holding the
Yeah.
brakes. Why did I crash into the planet?
oh, that was me, and that's why I uninstalled the game.
Yeah, I love that shit. What was the third one? Boss fights and enemy variety. Did you guys feel satisfied with that stuff, or lack of
No.
boss fights? I guess.
no. I don't know. I think if you're
I
gonna show
think-
me a giant monster like that, you got to give me some kind of giant monster fight to show me a giant monster, and then the end fight is talking to Alex in January. That's not good.
Yeah, that's fair. I didn't even think about that. It's like fucking
Yeah.
Chekhov's Typhon.
I don't. I kind of liked the way that they did it, where there wasn't like a boss fight with a health bar. Because like I remember when we played System Shock Remake, and I remember there was like that one boss fight where a health bar appeared, and I thought it was just like really cringy. But maybe that's just me. I just feel like it doesn't feel right in an immersive sim, even though like System Shock is an immersive sim and it had it, but like it just felt like a little too video gamey to me.
Wait, so your issues are the health bars?
Yeah, I guess when I'm thinking of a boss fight, I'm thinking of like a health bar appearing on the screen like Dark Souls.
My
Enemies have
my
health
issue
bars.
is my issue is
I mean,
not. Sorry, go ahead.
I mean, like, so I'm talking about the one in System Shock where it looked like a Dark Souls boss health bar. It was like really
Sure.
long.
Yeah, the Cortex Reaver. Yeah.
Yeah,
You're
and there
talking
was
about
like
the Cortex
fanfare for
Reaver.
him appearing. Like, I feel like I wouldn't have liked that much in this game, but that Typhon appearing at the end would have been like the moment to do it.
Yeah.
I guess.
I think that like there's a couple different parts of this. My main thing is that I think boss fights like what's it called, the Cortex Reaver? Is that what you said it was called?
Yeah.
Yep.
I think boss fights like that aren't very good in games like this because it never feels good to like have too few of resources when you're fighting a boss and you get to the end of it and it's got like a sliver of health but you just have like 0 bullets left. Like that's just never a good feeling in my opinion. And so games like Half-Life, for example, and I'm not calling Half-Life an immersive sim. It kind of is, but I'm not calling it one. They solved that by having all of the boss fights in Half-Life 2 is what I'm thinking. You have infinite resources. So like when you're fighting the helicopter, your gun has infinite bullets and that's like a fun boss. Or when you're fighting Breen at the end of that game, you have infinite of the energy orbs to shoot at him. And those things effectively have health bars, not like visually, but like the Apache helicopter starts like getting fire going on it. It plays the alarms. Dr. Breen, he has the like shields that he pulls up, and eventually you can shoot the actual core. And so like my main issues are not exactly what you're describing, but they are at Ben, but they're kind of related to it. Where it's like if you're gonna make an immersive sim, number one, like make the health bar feel immersive. It's kind of silly when it just pops up. And number two, I just think like traditional boss fights don't work in resource limited games in my opinion.
And
I don't agree actually. I think the problem I had with Cortex Reaver and System Shock is that it was the only boss. So like it set a precedent for something that never happened again. So I think if System Shock had more bosses, that would have been better if it capitalized on like the idea that it put forth. And I think it would have been a negative if the only boss in Prey was the Apex Typhon at the end. If it had had multiple leading up to Apex Typhon, that would have been theoretically better. I mean, who's to say, right? Maybe the boss fights suck ass, but like conceptually, I don't think that I don't think that bosses can really detract unless they're just bad. So I think it would have just been better served if they'd have drummed something up.
I think
But
I
again,
agree.
more than
I think I
one
agree with
time.
the idea of just have something, if for nothing else other than set piece. I think I agree with that because, like, yeah, there's like the
Yeah.
first techno path, or even the second is a little bit cooler. Or like the Weaver when you have to step into guts for I think the first time. Like that stuff's kind of cool, but yeah, there's like not enough emphasis on them for it to feel cool as a set piece boss fight.
Yeah. And to be clear, I actually do think that those moments are supposed to be like proxies for boss fights to the point that I almost kind of think about them that way in my head because like the first time you run into them, they are a lot more difficult precisely because of the scarcity and not having access to the same tools that you'll have the next time you run into them or whatever. So I do think I'm not going to sit here and tell you that this game has like boss fights, but I do think that there is something boss
They're like
adjacent.
elites at least, right?
Oh, they're definitely leads.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, definitely that. But that also doesn't excuse not having any sort of like real physical conflict with the big fucker at the
I
end
think it's
either.
like the game is not alien isolation, right? Like combat is a big part of the game, if not like the central force of the game. So if you're going to make a combat game without any giant encounters that are like predictable and like consistent pain points for people, like because I can run into the nightmare in a certain spot, or you can run into the nightmare in a certain spot, and you never really have to fight it. That's the thing with like all the encounters in this game, right? Like you never really have to fight anything, which I think is kind of like again conflicting with the design that they've created.
Also, just want to say that there is a moment that is built up to be a boss fight, and that is the confrontation with Walter Dahl. Um, but how fucking funny is it when you get to the Arboretum and he's right outside of Alex's bunker and he's just like talking at the like at the microphone to try and to get into Alex's bunker, and I just walk up behind him and shoot him twice with a shotgun and he's dead like I fucking mugged someone at an ATM.
Yeah, I was actually wondering
Such a
about that
letdown.
because, yeah, I was so confused by that because like when I got to him, it looked like he was like trying to hack a panel, and I'm just standing right next to him, just right behind him. It's like, do you see me, dude? Like I'm literally right here. I just pull out my like shotgun. I point it at him. I'm still like taking my time, wondering if he's gonna react to me, and he just doesn't. So I just like electrocute him, and I do like the non-lethal kill.
I
That
did
shit
I
was
did like
so
that.
weird.
Because I
Really?
think I like it as a subversion of expectations, right? Because you think when you're finally going to meet this guy, then he's going to be like he's in the Krang suit, and now it's going to be like this crazy fight. But instead, you just walk up and you're like, "Sup, bitch," and you blow him away. I
Well,
don't
I
know.
mean,
I think it's a cool
It is
subversion
funny.
idea.
I do like that subversion, but I don't like that he didn't react to me
Oh, well,
at
sure.
all.
I mean, that's
Well,
probably because you
Yeah.
got the stealth upgrade. He couldn't see you.
That's a good point.
you were living through your immersive fucking fantasy, dude. I mean, I do want to comment, just because I kind of shit on it, but like it's in there for a reason. I don't think that it's an acceptable substitution, but I think it is that way because you are able to like non-lethal kill Walter and you can like side with him and he takes you off the shuttle and stuff. So it's like they don't want to present it to you as like a boss fight with build up because like you could like turn him good, quote unquote, with neuromods, do a little brainwashing and turn him on your side. But he's still just a mustache twirling villain up until that point. Like,
Yeah.
please.
So I mean, I really do like that the way you like handle him is systematic like that, where there's different conclusions that you can have based on your choices. I just wish it was a little more challenging to get that special ending where and maybe it is because of my stealth powers, but like it just felt like very anticlimactic to just like walk up literally right next to him and him not even acknowledge me before I murk him.
I mean, my experience was basically the same, but I think he might have started to acknowledge me, and then he just got blown away by the shotgun. So it was basically the same thing.
Yeah. Same
Funny,
here.
funny stuff. Yeah, and on top of that, I don't think that the like base Typhon variety is quite there. Like, I don't think having 3 different Pokemon of Phantoms, like starter Pokemon, is like particularly meaningfully different. Like, oh, I'm gonna throw an EMP grenade at this one. Cool, okay,
Yeah, I mean,
cool.
I don't know. See, I'm gonna take the opposite stance here because I imagine you guys probably feel a similar way because I feel like what the enemy variety in this game lacks in numbers, it makes up for in design. Because, like, you got to think back to 2017, right? Like, the Mimic is a very novel enemy design that had not existed in that capacity up until then. Like, the Mimic was like the main selling point for this game. And then I think the Phantoms do enough, especially when you run into like the Voltaic and the Pyritic and the Etheric or whatever the fuck the three of them are. And then the Technopaths add
The
another
Weavers.
spin. I think the Weavers add another spin. I think the Poltergeists are they're boring, but they add a cool sort of ambiance when they're around and the music changes and shit, so I like them. So yeah, there's not like a great deal of them in terms of the overall variety, but I think they make up for it in how cool I think they are from just a design
Yeah, I actually
standpoint.
agree with that. Where like you do have to interact with each type of enemy in a maybe like not the most meaningful, but like they are meaningfully different, kind of like in the way they're like novel in how you deal with them.
Hmm.
And I think in terms of immersive sims, I think that the raw number of them is actually above average, maybe.
Yeah, it
I just
definitely
purely didn't
is.
like the aesthetic of any enemy except the Technopath.
Okay, yeah, I guess visually they're kind of boring, but I
Yeah,
think
Yeah,
that's
yeah, I
I
do
think
agree with
that's what it
that.
was starting to boil down for me because like yes, if I'm just looking at like a blank slate and each slate represents a different enemy, but this
Yeah.
one I have to like do this one I have to do that, this one I have to use my shotgun, this one I have to use my glue gun, this one I have to use my fucking laser beam. Like that can be fine, you know, it's Pokemon, it's fine, it's okay. But yeah, my issue is that everything is just black tendrils, all of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like if the opinion I hold is that I could probably draw all of the enemies that you had in your game, that's probably a really bad thing.
Yeah, I think what Tom said about like mimics being like novel for the time is very cool, if not for the idea of the just the design of being that, hey, in immersive sims, you pick up a lot of items and those items might be enemies. Where it's kind of like the idea of with like Nightmare on Elm Street, where like what's the safest place that you can think of to be in your bed, but that movie makes it so that the last place you want to be after you see it is in your bed. So I think that that's cool.
Yeah, I
uh,
think the Mimic is like easily the best design of the gameplay for this game for me. I really wish that the rest of the
Mhm.
Typhon design followed through.
Agreed.
I'm going to run a little bit of defense, at least for like the sameness of their visuals, because I remember back when I was like at IUPUI and we had like a creature design class where like there was like an exercise where you would just like take like a base form of a creature and run it through like all the different evolutions and like genders and stuff and like how different they can be. But like, and I think they've done that to a point in this game where like they're not gonna like visually change all that much, even though they change form. Like they're still gonna just be for the most part from the same base like Typhon material, which is like black wispy gooiness.
Yeah, I think the problem, at least that I have, is just that baseline is what's kind of boring. Is they just kind of look like
Yeah,
black
yeah, and I
squiggles.
know it's boring, but like it makes sense. You know what I mean? It's immersive because it just makes sense that they kind of look the same. I guess I don't know. Maybe I'm running too much defense and I don't need to.
I
Yeah, and again, I think it's just kind of two different axes where I also think it's okay that they look the same and that they follow kind of the same style guide. It's just that that style is
Yeah,
the
and if somebody
I
said
problem.
just
that they liked it, I wouldn't be like they're an idiot. It's just like that's not what I
yeah.
like.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I don't think it's bad, just kind of boring.
We're almost 2 hours in. Do you guys want to do these meta questions, or are we pressed enough for time that we should just do ratings?
Doesn't
Oh,
matter
I
to
don't
me.
care.
Yeah, I'll
Whatever
do
you guys want to
whatever.
do.
Keep
Yeah.
blabbing.
I feel like
'Cause
we answered most of these in one way or another, but go
I was
ahead.
gonna say like, I want to do the hand holding question because I mean we've kind of we've talked about it, kind of how this game is like boiled down to try to hit the like to spread as much of a net as they can over like their gaming audience. So uh, for you guys, how much hand holding in a game is too much hand holding?
I'll be honest, I think that this game actually strikes the perfect balance, I think, of how much hand-holding that I want in a game. Out of this like style of game anyway. Um, I think that it does a good enough job at sort of once you find the objective, then it's not hard to carry that objective out, but sometimes it's the finding or the locating or the tracking down the actual like quest starting point that can be the trickier part. But once you actually start it, then it's kind of more or less free sailing from there for a lot of stuff. But then there are certain aspects where it does put pressure on you to try and figure some aspect of it out, like with docking the shipping containers with the dude in it and shit like that, where yeah, I long story short, I think that this game actually strikes a really, really borderline perfect balance for what I would want out of
Nice.
a game
Yeah,
like
I think
this.
that quest that you're talking about where you can save Igwe and there's a time limit, I feel like those are very like brave injections of friction into a AAA
Mhm.
game.
Yeah. And there's multiple instances of that too in
Yeah,
this
like
game.
a bunch of those side quests have time limits, and I didn't find out about it until like
Yeah.
people just straight up died from me like procrastinating, and they gave no indication of that. You just have to intuit that from, I guess, well, honestly, just common sense that if you take too long, they're just gonna fucking die.
Well, to go back to something that Seth cited earlier, the quest markers will tell you what the time limit is. So, like when you have to save Michaela, I think her name is, you have 2 hours to do that from the time that you talk to her and she tells you that she needs her injection or whatever. But the issue is that quest marker is hidden behind something else saying multiple
Yeah,
objectives
I think
most
that's why
of
I
the
never
time.
saw that because like I never saw that time limit, but I'm sure it was there. I just never looked for it, which is just me being just low awareness, and that's just a skill issue. But it's good to know that it actually is there.
Yeah, for me, I don't really know how to answer the question because like I'm okay with a little bit of AAA slop. Like Horizon Zero Dawn, for example, chief among them, I think, in terms of kind of just being held and told what to do. I think for me, if I have to try to like narrow it down to what crosses the line for holding my hand is JRPGs. So like for example, back when we played Final Fantasy 16, 17, 16.
Yeah,
How long
16.
did we play?
16.
16. Like I vividly remember when you're doing the very first like boss fight where you're playing as Ifrit or whatever. And it gives you like the big long dash that you can do, and at the very start of that fight you have to dash out of the circle he creates, but the menu for the tutorial pops up after you have input to tell you how to dash. And things like that where it's like it's just so obvious what I need to do. Why are you interrupting my gameplay to tell me how to do what I already figured out how to do? And like I understand a lot of people are dummies and like need to be told that stuff, and that's fine. But come up with better ways of doing it than giving me like a huge tutorial pop up that's like telling me how to play the game and interrupting my experience.
Did you like
Yeah.
them in Prey?
I will say, I think
did
that
too.
game though is kind of like the extreme example of that though, like Final Fantasy
Yeah, because
16
it has
A
it's
specifically.
lot of
like
JRPGs do it.
yeah, but like it,
Yeah, but like a lot don't, even like within Final Fantasy, right? Like Final Fantasy 8 doesn't have that
It-
sort of like yellow
He
painted
just means
kind of
modern
shit.
Square
Modern
Enix.
JRPGs.
Every
Yeah.
modern Square Enix does it, and they're the worst
Okay,
at it. Like
okay,
Kingdom
okay.
Hearts,
Yeah, yeah.
it's every number
Okay,
game
I
is
agree.
terrible. Like Kingdom Hearts, the Final Fantasy VII remakes, basically everything from like after Final Fantasy 13, and even Final Fantasy 13 did it a little bit. Like
Yeah,
it's the
and
most
Yeah, it
egregious
did.
example of the tutorial pop up specifically.
that's why I think this game actually does a pretty good job at respecting its audience because like I understand why like those JRPGs have to do that because like think about their target audience. They're like the people that you see at anime conventions. You gotta dumb that shit down, right? But like in this game, they have no problems like filling up your quest log with like 20 quests, and like AAA games generally don't do that because it's just like kind of overloading. But this game is like, if you want to load up on those quests and have like a billion markers, they're gonna let you do it. And I think that's like pretty exceptional for
And like
AAA.
I think even the pop-ups in this game, like specifically the one I'm thinking of is the Psychoscope. Like that the pop-up for that one kind of works, I think, because number one, there's a fair amount of build up to it, so there's like a little bit of hype going into it. Number two, you have no idea what gameplay effect this thing is going to have. You just know you need to do it for like story reasons, basically. And when you pick it up, you have no indication for like what button you're going to need to press in order to actually activate it. So like a quick menu pop up explaining all of these things for something that's been built up like in the story is perfectly fine for me, because like you might think that you're going to pick it up and it's just like a story thing and I need to wear this fucking hat for the rest of the game, but it actually has a gameplay element, so that pop up comes as a like nice kind of surprise.
Yeah, it makes sense for the psychoscope specifically because that's not like as you said, that's not like an intuitive like function that you can just come up with when you first get it. Whereas like something in
Mhm.
Final Fantasy 16, I know that if I press X, I'm going to do an attack. You know what I mean?
It's the same button as like when you're playing Clive. Like
Yeah.
I mean, I can also argue an example against that in Prey specifically, though, right? Because when you first run into the nightmare, it should be an experience of like, what the fuck is this? What the fuck is happening? What am I supposed to do? But it's just like, whoop, the nightmare is gonna chase you. You
Oh, yeah.
gotta hide from it for 3 minutes, and I think that completely ruins it.
Yeah, that one's really bad.
That's probably definitely a concession towards the play
Yeah,
testers,
that's
which
Todd
is
for sure.
unfortunate. But I feel like the
Yeah.
number of like good decisions that they made to respect the intelligence of their audience outweighs like those examples.
Yeah, I agree. And I guess like when I was saying I thought that it was perfect, I was thinking more in terms of like the moment to moment gameplay and navigating between quests and figuring out how to complete objectives and stuff along that lines. I wasn't thinking down to the level of the tutorial pop-ups, I guess, which I still I mean, for me, the perfect amount of tutorial pop-ups should be 0. That's just my opinion. So, like, obviously, this game doesn't pass that bar, but I think outside of that, I think it does a
Yeah,
really
to
good
the point
job.
of like the psychoscope, I think like when you have novel stuff like that, you can't get away with no. Well, no, I
Yeah,
lied. I
but
lied.
you
You're right.
can.
Yeah, I
You
lied. You could
can.
find like a data log.
Yeah, you can do it diegetically. That's like the whole point of these games is to express things diegetically. It's why it has the word immersive sim.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like that's so why don't you describe the gameplay mechanics to me in an immersive and simulated
And
type
like
of
Half-Life
way?
I'm
2
not.
figured it out forever ago with what's his name being like, "Oh, hey Alex, you could just do the same thing with the cycloscope when you pick it up, right?" January could be like, "Hey Alex, press the Z button."
Yeah, to be clear with what I'm saying, I'm not saying that these pop-ups are like a good example of not holding my hand. Like that would just sound silly. I'm just saying that it doesn't interfere with my
Sure.
experience to a detrimentary degree to the same effect as a JRPG.
I definitely think that it's not like press X to it's a little bit less demeaning than press X to attack. But I don't think that this game
Yeah,
treats
for
you like
sure.
you're a fully fledged adult, like with the source being that it shows you the keypad entries next to the keypad that you fucking find.
I mean, I think that that's fine because it just like to me it signified okay, I passed like the objective like hurdle that they wanted me to pass. I think if you remove that aspect of it, it's almost like a different game where it's more of a puzzle game than it is anything else. But like I think that being able to find some of those codes within an email that you had to pass certain other high water marks to get, like you had to find a key card on some dude and you had to go in his office and read his emails, like that is the reward. The reward is that code. And I think that it's fine for it to not just hide that information from you and force you to take notes because frankly I think that would be kind of annoying in a game
I
like
just think of
this.
everything compared to System Shock, and that's why I like System
Well,
Shock more.
so like I can see that, but like I'm also coming it from the other direction where I'm thinking of something like the new like AAA games like God of War where you have like a partner character that kind of like shouts at you like, "Hey, if you do this, you can solve that puzzle," or "Hey, maybe check out that thing over there." Whereas they had the opportunity to do that with someone like January, and they had the restraint to not have January give you hints all the time throughout the game like that. You know what I
That'd be
mean?
sick. If this game was Japanese made, for
Yeah.
sure January would be Chudley, without a doubt.
Oh, Morgan-sama.
That would actually fit in this game with like the inclusion of
my
like the Asian
God.
shit, which I'm gonna. I didn't know if I want to talk about this. I felt like about this with both Prey and Signalis, where I felt like the Asianness was a little forced. Like these games are no 1000X resist, and to be fair, I don't think that's a bad thing. I think it's fine for it to be like decorative Asian representation, but like that's all it was. It's fine. Like it's not a big deal. I don't even think it's worth mentioning. You could edit this out. It's not. It's really not important at all.
I mean, I see your point, right? It's like I think that the fact that Alex was morbidly obese was more of a defining characteristic than the fact that he was
Yeah, I mean, I
Asian.
argue
Okay,
for it. Then what's the problem?
Can I just
Why
say
can't
because
that be
I'm
Asian?
probably
I don't
can I
think
just
there's a
say because
problem.
I think it's so fucking funny that he's morbidly obese and then you find an email from his fucking fitness instructor being like,
Yeah.
"Hey, you
Oh,
missed our
yeah.
last 5 sessions. Can you please
Okay.
Yeah,
make
that
the
was
next
pretty
one?"
funny. Ben's Asian. He gets to
Yeah,
criticize
yeah.
the Asian
Oh
representation.
yeah, and I'm
in
fat,
this
so I get to
game.
make fun of the fat guy.
Yeah, like, yeah.
Yeah, same here. That's why it works.
Yeah, I mean, I'd just say like, I don't think there's anything wrong with just making a character Asian just because they're Asian. It's not like they're Asian and suddenly they need to have like
Yeah.
Chinese
Yeah,
food
yeah.
orders on their computer.
Yeah. I was just saying for the extent that they like made like so many people Asian, it just felt like it wasn't like tokenism, but it wasn't 1,000x resist where it was actually meaningful. But at the
Sure.
same time, I don't think
Yeah.
it's a bad thing. It's
No,
fine.
no. I get it, right? Because like so many of the characters are Asian. The people who run the company that built and designed this entire space station were Asian, from parents down to their children. And for some reason, the like first and second generation Chinese family chose to create their $1 trillion space station in fucking 1930s Art Deco. Like that doesn't
Yeah.
make any fucking
Maybe they played
sense.
System Shock.
Or
Yeah, more
BioShock.
BioShock specifically.
All right, guys, ready to rate?
Yep.
Y'all ready to rate?
This would have been such a good game to come up with a funny selection bit.
The last person to have a dream.
Oh
Oh
fuck.
God, I don't even know the last time I had a dream.
Not Seth.
You dream it every night.
You gotta
Yeah,
remember
you
might
just
it.
don't
just
remember
not
them, and I
remember
don't
it.
remember that
Yeah.
is the problem.
Yeah, I smoke too much weed to remember my dreams. Once I stop smoking weed, I start
I
remembering.
can't do that
them.
one then because it would be me followed by you guys don't know the order.
Yeah, I can't think of a good one. We'll just go top to bottom. Thomas.
Always top to bottom with you.
Go bottom to top. Ben. No,
yeah.
fuck you, Thomas. Go Ben.
All right, sure. Despite like kind of like all the critique that I've
Bitch.
leveled at this game, I thought as far as immersive sim goes, I think this is actually one of the top tier ones. Like I rate this very highly. I think it is a 9.5 out of 10. I enjoyed it a lot, even if there are a lot of flaws. But I feel like it being the sum of its parts is pretty fucking great. Like the fact that they came out with this in like a AAA package is quite impressive. Like a lot of developers wouldn't try to make a game like this, I guess is what I'm saying. And I feel like, at least for me, someone who is like a consumer of AAA slop, I thought it was pretty high quality AAA slop.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny, right? Because like I think that by and large, the AAA people agreed with you, right? Like this game was notorious for selling like shit and being marketed like shit because Bethesda probably just didn't believe in it. So, I mean, this was made by Arkane Austin, and then the next Arkane Austin didn't make a single game until Redfall. So
Well,
it shows you how much that they believed in their own
they
AAA
made
slot.
Deathloop, which I actually liked, but I feel like a lot of people didn't like that
No,
game. Oh, is that a
was
different
not
studio?
that was not Arcane Austin
Oh,
specifically.
okay.
Yeah, that was the main one in Lyon or wherever the
Oh,
fuck
gotcha.
they're
I
at.
didn't know that. I didn't know about the distinction. I thought they were all the same.
Yeah. Nope, Arcane Austin made Prey, which sold like shit, and then Redfall, which promptly closed their
Rightfully so.
studio. Yeah.
Well, as for me, I think that this game has one of the best intros of any game ever. I think it's fucking awesome, and I think some of the ideas that it introduces from the intro are paid off in kind of unexpected ways throughout the rest of the game. I like games that kind of like play with your head, especially like you as the player playing with your head. And one of the like smaller ways that I think the game does this is it introduces a number of moral choices to you. So for example, you can blow up the shuttle that was traveling back to Earth, but there's like a risk that the individuals on the shuttle are still infected with the typhon. And I think it's just a really cool idea given the post-credit scene that you don't see any of this. You just have to like take in the information and then make a choice. And you just kind of have to like live with yourself after that, and you don't like get to escape that decision because a lot of them are brought up in the post credits. I don't think this is a perfect game by any means, but I just like the way that it's like constantly fucking with you in that way where you're just like second guessing some of your reality because of like what they're saying about the neuromods and how January and December interact with you, and then how Alex plays into that. All really cool stuff. I think this is like a smaller thing, but I just think that the looking glass is really cool. Like, it's really cool to have in a 3-dimensional game, that kind of like non-Euclidean visual. And I didn't get to talk about it, but I'm just gonna say it that I thought the puzzle with Dr. Calvino's mug was fucking awesome. Like, one of the best I've played, but one of the best puzzles I've done in an FPS. Very, very cool. I thought the anti-gravity is fucking awesome. Like I said, it was a predecessor to me loving Outer Wilds. This game is kind of a buggy mess. I didn't get into it, but like when the Apex Typhon first shows up and he like flips the fucking thing upside down, I was just completely stuck. And I thought that I was like stuck in the wood of the patio, but I was like slowly inching out and out and out, and I was gaining speed because I was in anti-gravity, but I was just stuck like that. So I had to reload my save, and it was really funny. And on top of that, there's just like a lot of really weird like clipping issues throughout the entire game. But I'm willing to accept some of the sacrifices that I've laid out throughout the rest of this game. This game's not a 10. I think it's too flawed to be a 10. I also don't think it's good enough to be a 9.5 because I just don't think the story is quite good enough. I just like the ideas and concepts that the story is throwing to you. So I'm going to give it a 9.
Dang, I was
cooking.
hella low.
That was
Dang.
close enough. One thing I will say about the bugginess is that like I feel like I'm a lot more forgiving of bugs in a game like this, and it's for the same reason as like Baldur's Gate 3, where that game is buggy as fuck. But a lot of that has to do with the fact that it's just so complicated with all the different systems that like I just give it a bunch of leeway for allowing all the possibilities to happen, which I mean that will also result in some bugginess.
Yeah, I will say I had 0 bugs or 0 issues with bugs this time I played the game, but if you go and look at my 10-year-old Steam review, one of the things that I said was really annoying about this game was how buggy it was. So
I mean, I feel like 2017, every PC game was just a gigantic piece of shit and never worked. So I think they figured that out over
yeah, and
COVID.
this game was fucking published
Yeah.
by Bethesda, so there's like a force multiplier on
Just had
that.
to lock everyone inside with their computers for like 6 months,
Yeah.
and then they figured it out.
At
And
some
it
point, they were like, "Wait a
also,
second, these PC games sell. We should probably like debug them."
yeah, and also the fact that we played this game in 2026 means it probably went through like a bunch of
Yeah.
patching.
Oh yeah.
Lots of
Well,
patches.
Jordan,
and
you're up
stuff.
next.
Yeah. So for me, if we played this game before we would have played System Shock, I think I'd probably have like close to double the review score of what I currently have of it. I just think that there's too many, like the quality of life of the game is too much of a nightmare, like more of a nightmare than like the nightmare mechanic itself even. And so like just the amount of things that I had to do like to mod this game to just to kind of bring it up to like I'm not gonna kill myself in terms of like motion blur and like sensitivity and all of that shit was just like it was more of like a survival horror than the game itself. Like really it resulted in me like just straight up just holding W through like so much of the game, and I did a couple side things, but only if it was like, oh look, a side thing. It wasn't like I'm gonna go to a different area to do side quests. So if a lot of the good content is behind side quests, I just never saw that. But I mean it's still like fine for what it is, but I think it's a little too derivative of System Shock to really like be a standout experience. So for me it's 3.5.
Damn,
Holy moly!
All right.
Thomas fucking got close enough.
Fucking mind
I just-
melted.
Yeah, unfortunately, what I did was I looked at Jordan's rating for System Shock and I was like, maybe he'll like it a little bit more, but no, I was
Nah.
just completely wrong.
I like the opposite. I like
Other
it
way.
like a decent amount less, and I think it's just because it's a AAA version of System Shock, and I appreciated what a lot of System Shock's design choices that made sense.
Hmm.
Oh,
Yeah. System Shock is a vastly superior game to this.
you
in
said
my
so many
opinion.
times that you hate the like carbon copy remakes, like they're not earning anything or whatever. So I definitely should have gone lower. Shit.
Yeah, I mean that makes sense for like what you're going for and what you're looking for, but for me, like I thought this game was way better than System Shock Remake, but that's just
Oh, sure.
me and my AAA.
I'm sure most
Yeah,
trough.
but yeah, for sure. I think like a lot of that is I think the reasons why Jordan and I would prefer a game like System Shock is also probably the same reason that you don't like games like Outer
Yeah.
Wilds. It's like this is like a very, very similar like pattern there, I
Yeah,
think.
it's definitely like a consistent through line through like all of that, I think.
Yeah, just another insight is into my rating of what I'm gonna enjoy and what I'm not gonna enjoy is like how stupid does the game think you are. If the game thinks you're fucking stupid, I'm probably not gonna like it. But if a game is the opposite and is like, hey man, you fucking figure it out, I'll at least respect it, even if I don't like it.
Yeah, and see that's why when I was describing the hand-holding thing, I was trying to be very deliberate with saying that in games like this, because like obviously, you know, if I'm playing a game like Prey, I don't necessarily want to spend a lot of time having to wander around and like backtracking and trying to piece together notes, because there's a lot of text in this game, and that's just not the game that it's trying to be. But if I were to fucking boot up Blueprints and it just had quest markers telling me where to go for everything, that would be equally bad, or not even equally bad. It would just be like god awful. So it's just really context dependent on the game, I think. And in a game like this, I don't mind the degree of handholding that's there, just because I don't want to have to wander
Sure.
around.
Yeah,
I mean, that's
and
why I
also,
say, like, if I played this before System Shock, I would like this game a lot more because I wouldn't have the frame of reference for how System Shock did its design to know that the things that I don't like about this game are fixed in System Shock. Because I think System
Sure.
Shock fixes that. Like, it doesn't need to have all those like objective things. It designed the map so well with like the elevator and how everything is laid out that like it feels awesome. Where this game is like, where's the objective marker? I found it.
Yeah,
Your
fair
turn,
enough.
Thomas.
Oh, Prey. Prey confuses me. There's times I feel like this game is like literally one of the greatest games ever made. There are times where I think this is one of the worst games ever made, and then there are times where I think it's just quite derivative and kind of an exercise in milk toastery. So I'll get the bad out of the way first. The gunplay in this game is terrible, just like absolutely dreadfully god awful and generic. Like Duke Nukem 3D was deeper and more interesting than Prey was. Maybe some of that's on me because I didn't spring for the Typhon powers because I knew how the ending worked. But yeah, I mean, once you fully upgrade the shotgun, you just kind of run around like fucking Serious Sam and nothing matters anymore. Like you shoot phantoms and they literally get knocked over and just don't do anything anymore. So yeah, the gunplay in this game very bad. But the medium in this game is something we talked about a lot, and I'm not going to restate my position here, which would be the story. The story, I don't know. I feel like they bite off a lot more than they chew, and then they don't deliver on that, like with the ending and the promises of a sequel that's never going to happen. We didn't talk about this, but I think that the actual foundation of the story is really interesting. So basically, like, what if JFK didn't get assassinated is kind of the setup for the plot in this game. And it never really goes past like, hey, JFK's still alive, and that's really the only time that they ever acknowledge that. So I wish they would have gone deeper with some of those aspects. But on the plus side, there are certain like environmental storytelling aspects to this game that do make it kind of a masterclass, like with the Fatal Fortress RPG character sheets and finding the audio logs. Like that type of stuff gives you real interesting insights into some of the characters and how like the game gets interrupted when the Typhon invade and all that shit. You've got the storyline about the smuggling ring and how you had characters who were smuggling neuromods off Talos 1. You've got the whole storyline with the volunteers who basically it just is there to reinforce how evil what's her face Transstar are. There's a lot of really good environmental storytelling aspects, because like in Psychotronics, you know, when you find those glass containment cells or whatever where the volunteers are and they're getting exposed to all the Typhon shit, like there's a lot of really cool moments with the environmental storytelling in this game, which is why the story is, even though I think it ends very poorly, even though it's kind of set up well, it just kind of deflates really hard at the very end. But there's a lot of really good shit at play here. And for the type of game that it is, I think it's pretty cool how much character they were able to flesh out with a lot of what they had to work with in terms of script length, really. And then the good of this game is honestly most other things. Like, I think we kind of dunked on it a little bit, but I do actually think the aesthetic for this game works. I think the map design in this game is actually good. And I think that the reason why the map design is good is because it does kind of work in tandem with the degree of handholding in this game very well. I think the environment and the ambiance and the visuals and everything related to like some of the enemy sound design, how they like mutter all of this creepy shit while you're walking around, like everything about the ambiance and the horror aspects of this game, I think it really like knocks it out of the park, and that serves to make Talos One feel like this kind of real, almost lived-in place with a history and a cast of characters and sort of all the shit that you want when you play a game like this. So all in all, I think this game is really just really fucking super solid. So uh, I pitched an idea about the Hall of Fame of 8 out of 10 games where Mimic Logic has sat for all this time. And I think that for me anyway, this game is right up there with Mimic Logic in terms of like some of the most perfect 8 out of 10 games in existence. And it's just a little bit worse than System Shock, which I rated 8.5. So it falls perfectly into 8 out
The
of
Mimic
10.
Nice.
Logic Pantheon continues.
Damn, I missed on everybody, but it is what it is.
Yeah, I only hit on
And we got
Jordan.
Thomas. Sheesh.
I got points everywhere. I got double points on set.
Yeah, I actually kind of liked the way that you laid out your rating because I think it's a very like apt way that you might like recommend this game to someone. Like, there's a lot to like. There's also a lot that you'll probably fucking hate.
Yeah, like this game, like I said, I think it bites off more than it can chew more in the story. I think it also kind of does that in some of its system mechanics where there's a lot of half-baked or half-assed stuff in this game. And whether or not the game is worse off for it, I guess I don't really know. Like, would the game have just been better off if something like the nightmare mechanic never existed? I don't know, because if the game had forced me to engage with it, then maybe I would have liked it, but like the fact that they didn't, like I said, just kind of makes it feel a little bit half-assed.
It's so
Damn,
funny.
that's
They're right
perfect.
next to each other.
That's hilarious.
I do like that it's above System Shock because I think that's where it belongs, but that's just me.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty sure that I effectively in the System Shock remake episode I gave 2 different ratings. I can't remember which one I nailed down for my actual rating, but like the original System Shock, that game's fucking crazy. That game, holy shit, what a game! But the remake was kind of just mid. So I personally am pretty certain that if we played like the original System Shock, or if I was like going off of what I understood of it from back then, it would be like one of our higher rated games. I think.
Until you actually play it and you're like, God, this game fucking sucks.
Maybe. I don't know.
I am really excited for when they make the System Shock 2 remake, because that is a vastly superior game to the first game, and I will be curious to see how we land
Maybe we'll have
on
a
it.
back-to-back of BioShock for Jordan into System Shock 2 remake.
God, are we gonna fucking play BioShock? All that episode will be is just me making fun of people who like anime.
Wait,
I would.
did I miss
I
something? I
would
didn't know.
shit
I wasn't aware that someone was going to pick Bioshock. It seems like a really boring game to pick.
Well, I just said
personally.
somebody pick it because I haven't played it. And I'm probably not
Oh.
playing Bioshock just for funsies.
Gotcha. I gotcha.
BioShock Infinite is a cool game.
agree.
If it might, I don't know how I would think about it in 2026, like 10 years later. But I do remember really enjoying that
Yep.
game when
I
it came
remember
out.
the creator Ken Levine getting really salty that people made Rule 34 out of Elizabeth.
Oh yeah. Yeah, because she was like the progenitor of that shit. That was when people figured out, like, wait, you're telling me I can just rip the model, put it in Blender, and start making porn? Like, I think like Elizabeth was like the start of that shit. So Ken Levine was on the cutting
BioShock
edge.
Infinite crawled so that Overwatch and Marvel Rivals could
Yeah.
run.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think BioShock Infinite's fucking awesome. I would be curious to replay it, because I don't know how I would think of the story now, but when I played it when I was in high school,
Yeah.
that story was fucking awesome.
Yeah, 100%. I'm right
All
there
right,
with you.
that was Prey, as in Prey, not Pray. I bet there's a Pray out there somewhere that we could follow up with, and it would be funny. But I'm sure we're not. Ben, what are we playing next week?
What are we playing next week? Because like I know, because here's
Future
what
Cup.
Why'd you ask Ben?
Jordan. Yeah, Jordan picked that game.
I wasn't going
Oh,
to say
shit.
anything.
I had no idea.
Yeah, no, I picked it. I picked Future Cop LAPD because nobody knows what the fuck that is. So you guys are going to learn what the fuck that is.
How fitting that I didn't even know who picked it.
I'm gonna keep it 100. I also thought Ben picked it until just now.
I never even heard of it until Jordan picked it.
Yeah, it's
Actually,
like a
that's not
Blockbuster
true.
game.
That's very much not true. I've definitely seen it in like magazine
Yeah.
advertisements back in day, like EGM. I've definitely seen it,
Yeah,
but
same
that's like
here.
the extent of my
I
knowledge.
have seen the
Yeah,
cover
That's what I
exactly.
mean by a Blockbuster game. Like you go
Same.
buy it on Blockbuster and you look at it and there's like 3 of the tapes behind it saying that you could. There's a bunch of rentals and you're like, nah, I'll just get a movie instead.
That's good stuff, but that'll be next week. See you then. Bye.